Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the 20th edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide Live Call-In Show from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports, as we go over our take on the Alabama Crimson Tide while we take your calls right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. The call-in link is in the description and in the chat. And let me tell you something, folks, it's going to be a wild ride. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Sorry about holding up the show. Definitely glad we were able to get it on the air tonight with the both of us. I already was sick before, so I missed a couple weeks, but wasn't gonna miss it tonight. I made sure I even though I was a little late that we were gonna be able to do the show. So glad that we're getting to talk about the Crimson Tide again. Can't believe we're already at show number 20, by the way. I mean, it feels like we just started it, in a way, and also feels like, hey, we've been doing this for a while, so that's pretty cool.
I know, right? I mean, it's been a minute, and time flies by when you're having fun.
Absolutely.
And of course, before we take calls and discuss our takes, we got the YouTube membership of Alabama with the Voice of College Football for $2.99 a month. You can become a Crimson Faithful member. And in return, you get to give out loyalty badges and custom emojis in the live chat and in the comment section. And you get a shout out on each show anytime you comment. For $4.99 a month, you can get priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout with guys like us on Alabama with the Voice College Football just by becoming a Saban disciple. And for $9.99 a month, you can connect on social media with us and give out content requests of any kind. And that's all by becoming a Bear Bryant legend. And neither rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor bad weather of any kind will put a stop to fulfilling your request for Alabama at the Voice of College Football.
I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will, right? I mean, definitely Alabama, the Voice of College Football. We got a lot of great content coming down the pipe every single week. Obviously, Jackson and Johnny on Monday night and our show every Thursday night. And like Jackson said, extra content as well if you become a member. So definitely do not want to miss out on that.
Agreed. And there's already a top-notch book out on Amazon. That's from Mark Rogers, the voice of college football himself, and it's the Disputed National Champions College Football's Historical 1990s Reset. And you'll learn about what happened during the 90s, how the decade changed sport, why the championship results should be questioned, how to critically think through the scenarios, and to appreciate the accomplishments of teams that were not recognized as champions. This book provides an in-depth analysis of the changes, controversies, and outcomes that defined the decade of college football. It challenges readers to explore and critically evaluate the decisions that shaped the national championship landscape. Unlock the mysteries of college football's most debated decade. Grab your copy now.
Absolutely. I mean, tons of college football fans out there, and I'm sure everybody's got a major college football fan in their life. So definitely, if they are a massive football fan, you're not going to want to miss out on Mark Rogers' book, especially if they are someone that was alive and around when 1990s football was on TV. I mean, there's some people that are young that love the history of the sport, but definitely people that were born probably in the 80s and earlier would really appreciate it for sure.
Agreed.
But hey, give it to some kids as well. Educate them on 1990s college football.
Agreed.
We didn't always have the playoff.
I know, right? They need all the education they can get. And I got to tell you, we got some recruiting updates for the 2026 recruiting class. And it looks like we're trying to get more quarterbacks. Keyshawn Henderson, who's a 5-star commit to Houston, he's pretty good from what I'm seeing. But we don't have a quarterback commit so far. We got 2 commits for the whole 2026 recruiting class. But, it's only February. It's not like it's November or anything. But in his junior season, he had 2,689 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, and he showed exciting playmaking skills from and out of the pocket with his ability to improvise. And here are some plays from him right here and now. There he is, back pass. Long bomb, boom.
It's good.
There we go. And there's a few more plays for right now. Oh, he's just running. He's just running.
You do like to see the dual threat ability. I mean, yeah, a true quarterback, for some football purists, they don't like quarterbacks that run. They like pocket passers more. But I mean, in this day and age, you really almost have to be, somewhat of a runner because of how, especially if you're going to be in the NFL, if you're going to be an NFL quarterback, with how fast the NFL defensive lines are and defensive ends. I mean, how much faster they are now versus what they used to be. I mean, you had some that were really fast back in the past, but it just seems like as a whole, you have to be able to escape pressure more so now than ever before. So you have to have that dual threat ability. But I mean, he looks really good. I mean, I will say that, I mean, this is as cliche as it comes, but it's very difficult to be able to, decipher from high school film how good a quarterback actually is. Because, and even for like college basketball players when they're in high school, because there's been a ton of players that have put up a ton of points in high school. And this was more often the case prior to, a lot of players going to the Montverdes in basketball and the IMG Academy, like, those type of, I guess you would say prep high school, places where they help you prepare for college. But if you didn't go to places like that, then you didn't play really good competition on your high school team. So if you could score like 30 points a game in high school and just be a bucket getter, but then go to college basketball and barely score, barely make an impact. And that can happen in college football too. If you played on a high school football team that did not have great competition and you just put up gaudy stats and people think you're insanely good. And then you go to college and then all the flaws that particular player has that you really couldn't see from his high school film, it shows itself. So it is really tough when looking at high school tape. I don't rarely do it. I know that's probably like for some people that's a sin, like if you're a football, fan, college football fan, and you don't watch high school tape. I watch it every now and then. I do watch a little bit of it, especially if I'm interested in the player, particularly for like Alabama or Indiana. But I don't really watch a lot of high school tape because you can, but you also can't on a large basis really determine how good a player is from high school film unless he's playing on, one of those circuits where, there's great teams that he's playing, great high school competition, and he's going up against the best competition. If he is, then that player usually ends up, you can say, yeah, this guy's going to be really good. And most of the time they pan out, but going to be interesting. I think, obviously that with that being 2026, I mean, it's always good to look at the future, but that's not, definitely a priority yet, for Alabama. I mean, it is if you're, again, looking toward the future, and Kalen DeBoer has to do that, but 2025 is more important. I mean, we got to, get back on track as a team, get the incoming freshmen in, see how they, hopefully some of them develop and get ingrained in the program and they can improve, make the playoffs, didn't just do better than they did this past season. But you definitely have to start looking at 2026 recruiting. But I do agree with you. It's not a big deal that Alabama only has 2 commits because this day and age, players decommit all the time too. You could get an early commit and then, in the 2026 class, and then by the end of the cycle, like, oh, right before signing day, he decommits from Bama and goes to Texas. That can happen too. So it matters, but I think it's more important with recruiting when it gets closer to signing day and stuff like that, because like that, then for sure like what you're actually going to get. But Alabama used to never have like decommits and stuff. Like they used, if you committed, you stayed. But now, I mean, we saw Caleb Downs transfer to Ohio State. Anything's possible these days.
Oh yeah. Well, and I want to go back to this one highlight for a little bit. And this is what I'm seeing. It's like, boom, all the pressure, boom, miss. Oh, he's just running. He's running all over. There we go.
Yeah. That gives you Caleb Williams vibes. I mean, when at USC, where he just is able to just continue to escape pressure and just in when the play breaks down, he doesn't like panic. And that's a good attribute to have. But once you get in the NFL, though, you do have to kind of be able to perform at a high level in a more sanitized environment of like drop back, just throw. Like you can just drop back, take a couple steps, and throw the ball. If you can do that, you're good to go. But if you're a quarterback that thrives on plays breaking down and crazy shenanigans, that's not going to really bode well for the NFL, but it does not really harm you in college football though. So that definitely is a good sign for him for his ability to be able to escape SEC pressure if he can make all those moves. But definitely interesting to see if as he develops and if he does go to Alabama and perform well in the future, or whether that can translate to the NFL or not.
Yeah, I mean, like Caleb Williams comparisons, that's huge right there. Because I want him. Like if things aren't working out, I'm just like, get him to our roster.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like if, and I don't want to say this because again, he hasn't even played. But if Keelan Russell doesn't work out, then Henderson could be that guy to save the Boer if things are not going well. Kind of like how Lagway was Napier's last chance, and I said that at the beginning of this past season, and nobody remembers it. But I was like, literally, the only way Billy Napier's job, if he has any chance of not getting fired and saving his job, is if DJ Lagway comes in and plays well and they win enough games in that tough schedule. And that's what happened. I mean, literally, if Graham Mertz doesn't go down and he's the starter the whole season, Napier's gone. If DJ Lagway stays hurt after that Georgia game, if he stays hurt and never comes back, he's fired. But because Lagway came back in the lineup and they won 7 games, however many games they won, 8 games, it saved his job. And that, I mean, it sucks that a lot of times luck or just striking gold on one guy is enough to do that. But that's literally what happened in that case. And I hope that doesn't happen to Kalen DeBoer because I don't want him getting on thin ice where he's gonna like one player can save his job or not. But you never know. Could be the case if things don't go right. But I think Alabama will be fine. I'm not super confident that they're gonna be a top 5 team next year, but I think they can be better than this past season. We'll see.
Oh yeah, we'll be a lot better than we were last season. And we've got our first caller of the night. You know him, you love him. He's the one and only Alabama Richie.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight, good buddy?
Not too bad. So I wanted to talk about something that Jeffrey brought up. That was exactly right. When you talked about Napier and Lagway, I told everybody beginning of the season, when you get a quarterback like him, it's almost like they were trying so hard to make Graham Mertz a talent when you already knew that a DJ, because I have I do a lot of SEC stuff with our show, and one of the things that we do is we were talking about Florida, and I said Florida will not be as sorry as people think if DJ's their quarterback. Graham, I'm not saying Graham was a poor quarterback. I've never said that. I'm just saying that there's a difference between what one guy can do versus another guy. It's like when you look at a guy like, go back to Georgia, you look at Stetson Bennett. They called him DoorDash for a reason because he could run around on the field and things like that. You look at Carson Beck. You couldn't really rely on a guy like him to be as mobile as Stetson Bennett. He won 2 championships because of his ability to run and throw and be able to rush when he needed to. So I think, and to the guy's first comment down there, Camp, I agree with that. DJ's going to make, as long as DJ is the starting quarterback at Florida, I think Napier's job will be saved. They don't have as hard of a schedule this next season compared to this year. So I think that'll be a plus for them. And again, with Henderson, back to what you said, USC comparisons to Caleb is exactly right. He was one of those, I can throw on the run if need be. I'm one of those, I can also throw in the pocket. He just needs, and see, that's the thing is, until they sign on the dotted line, it's just really, really hard to assess whether he's going to stay or not because you still I still keep hearing, and I don't know how y'all feel about it, Austin Mack, because a lot of people keep saying, well, don't sleep on Mack because he is the Boris guy from Washington, and he
Mm,
didn't look too bad. I was at A-Day last year in person for the first time to welcome DeBoer and all that, and he did not look as bad as people think. Obviously, the A-Day game is not really a true game because anybody can look good in that game, but still, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
mm. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, you can compare, tons of different quarterbacks and scenarios. I just love the Lagway comparison because I mean, when talking about like saving a coach's job, because I mean, it was so obvious that was the only chance. I feel like when you look at a guy like Graham Mertz, if he's on a team that is super good and has tons of talent, and he's just able to just have time to throw, kind of like Mac Jones the year at Alabama in 2020, something like that. I think Graham Mertz would be fine. Yeah, I don't know if he'd do as good, but I think he'd be fine. I mean, probably win 11, 12 games, do just fine. But Florida didn't need that. Florida couldn't have a guy like that. They needed a guy that was uber talented and was going to make the team better because the team wasn't good enough. They have some talent, but it's not good enough with how insanely stacked the SEC is with talent. Every program, it has talent. Even Vanderbilt's getting better with getting talent. Every team has talent. And if you just have a couple of good players and then an average quarterback, it's not going to do you any good. If you have an insanely stacked roster and an average quarterback, you're fine. Yeah, that's doable. But if you don't have that, if you only have a few good players, then you need a great quarterback to make up for that. And that's what we saw change with Florida. And I feel like Jalen Milroe, to shift back to Bama, I don't know, man. That he is just such an enigma, and a lot of people are still confused with him. I feel like, because I think we've talked about Milroe with you before, Alabama Richie, a few weeks ago. But I mean, we're all, I think, in the same camp that yes, Milroe can thrive off of guys. Like when he's pressured, he can escape the pocket, he can run. He's kind of like that, but he's not a pocket passer, sit back and just pick you apart all game. And that's what Alabama tried to turn him to this year, and it didn't work. So if you see, a guy like Henderson that they're trying to get, that can, if he can be a guy that can do both, if he can thrive off getting pressured and escaping it and doing that, but can also be a guy that can sit back in the pocket and pick you apart, then I think that kind of player can work for DeBoer. But Milroe did not. Milroe just did not. And I know that he inherited him. A lot of people will defend a coach when it's like, well, this guy was from the previous, administration, whatever. But Milroe clearly was not a good quarterback for DeBoer in the offense they were trying to run. And hopefully Keelan Russell and future quarterbacks will, because I think that's going to heavily determine whether the DeBoer era works or not.
Absolutely. Question I have as well is he's a what star is he? 4-star or 5-star?
I think he was a 5-star, Jackson. Is that right? Or some rate him as a 4 and others rate him as a 5?
Yes, I believe he's a 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the reason I asked that is because
My
Jackson's
mistake.
been on
He's
a
a
few times
4-star.
with us, but we do a show called Talking SEC, and my partner and me both believe that our star quarterback this year will be Keelan Russell because of the Julian Saying scenario, because we don't want to be known for losing another 5-star quarterback. So if we can get this guy to come in and Keelan doesn't work out, or another bigger NIL deal comes through, whether he plays 1 year for us and teams desperate for a quarterback say, well, hey, you're making this much, because every school's got it. They got that Richie guy donor that'll come out the woodwork and say, hey, we need you so bad. That's the thing I said about South Carolina and Lenore Sellers this past season is he played so well after they lost to us in T-Town that I didn't believe that they were going to be as bad as people said, because with his play, he saved Shane Beamer's job. Yeah. So I don't believe that Keelan's going to not start, because I think he might be what saves the season. I said the same thing about Walker White at Auburn. I said I thought because I also watch high school talent, so I saw him and thought he was their answer. Now they have to rely on Jackson Arnold. So whatever he does from the comparison from Oklahoma to now you start to ask yourself, what does that do? So I think the quarterback definitely makes a big change for you, especially when you're a last year or on the or a iffy coach, where they're having questions. So
Mhm.
and then same deal. I read an article today that said that if Simpson starts, it'll only be for those give me games, Ty Simpson, because they want to see what he can do because he has proven himself, but they also want to be able to get Keelan in there because I think that's what a lot of people want. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. And Henderson looks like a stud, and I like what I saw from him. And the other cool thing that you brought up real quick before I jump off is when
Mhm.
you're talking about elite high schools and that you play against like IMG Academy and
Mhm.
Montverde, Duncanville, Texas, where Keelan's from, my partner told me that it's almost like a college high school. You walk into the locker room and it's like, wow, it's like and his buddy who is a wide receiver commit over at Oregon right now. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but we're trying to flip him
Mhm.
too. This other guy doesn't believe it, but I think that if the right donor comes through and offers him the money, I think we can do it, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think that if you and they were also from what I read, Duncanville played a lot of elite talent in high school. Like the schools around that area were pretty solid in terms of recruits and getting people to come. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for Henderson. Hopefully he'll stay and he can compete for the job. And I asked brother on this real quick, but what's your take on Grubb joining the system? I know Sheridan got moved, but he's still on the team. What was your take on Grubb?
I think it's good because, when you look at, DeBoer's coaching success, obviously, and this is why people were, I wouldn't say concerned, but a few people were like, well, he hasn't been a coach that long, at the high major level, like he hasn't done it that long. He had all the success at the D2 school, which is great. That's fantastic. But then after, moving up, being an assistant, it's like, well, he's got the 1 year at Fresno and then he's got the 2 years at Washington. But who was his offensive coordinator the whole time? Grubb. Grubb was the offensive coordinator at Fresno and he was the offensive coordinator at Washington. So it's like, you don't want to say this because, like you look at Tom Allen. What was Tom Allen's success when he had DeBoer at OC? That's when he did well. And that's why I felt it was so important, like Kurt Signetti retaining the whole staff this season, basically. Like that's going to help Indiana next year. I'm going off on a tangent, but basically, is DeBoer like limited without Grubb? Yes, I think so, because you see that this past year at Alabama, probably his worst coaching job per se in people's opinion. Now that's debatable. I wouldn't say that's definitive because I do think taking over Saban, a lot of players left. There's a lot of changes going on. It's fair, to have this type of season. But for a lot of people, be like, well, this was his worst year compared to what he should have done, relative to talent and whatever. Because Fresno State, I mean, they've had success. They've been up and down. But when he went there with Grubb that season, they were great. And then he goes to Washington, and he immediately turns them around, which I still laugh to this day. People said when Penix went out there, he wasn't going to do anything. I'm like, yeah, if he stays healthy and he's protected, he's going to be just fine. He was great at Indiana with the worst offensive line I've ever seen. So yeah. But that's a whole other thing too. I just feel like with Grubb, if Alabama has a really great season next year, I think that you have to point that to Grubb. It's not to say DeBoer can't coach, but it's going to be interesting though, because you're going to lose Grubb again. If DeBoer stays at Alabama for 10 years or 15 years or whatever, he's not going to keep Grubb the whole time. Can he replace him? Because the 1 year he didn't have him at OC, he struggled. He really did. So that I think that's going to be really interesting. I think it's a great move because he's had success with him before, and I have no reason to believe that it's not going to work again.
It's a huge win to have Ryan Grubb on the staff, but it's like Jeffrey said, when he leaves, that's going to be a humongous test for Kalen DeBoer.
It sure will. And one last thing is Coach Saban lost, if y'all remember, several years ago, he lost, I think it was Scott Cochran, and he lost somebody else. And everybody was in love with Cochran, how much of, because he was our strength conditioning coach. And when we lost him, everybody was like, what are we going to do? How are we going to rebound? And we won a championship from it. So, I mean, again, I think that this will be a question that we ask, DeBoer is, can he, if he loses Grubb again, because if we have success, people are going to want to offer Grubb a job because there'll be an NFL team that's desperate for an OC or another coaching deal that in college that needs an OC really bad, and you'll see it. So it'll definitely be interesting to see, can he rebound from it. I didn't think that I love Sheridan. I think he's a decent guy, but I didn't think he was the right fit. I think they were, and you hit the nail on the head. A lot of things they were trying to have Milroe do, and a lot of people said, "Well, hold on, Milroe looked better with Saban." It's because Saban was one of those guys that you make a mistake and he's all over you. DeBoer couldn't really do that because you have to sit back and say to yourself, I start making, remarks at these kids, I might not see this kid anymore. I might see him get, well, you know what? Forget this. I'll go play somewhere where they don't yell at me or I don't have to get stern with. So we'll see what happens. But again, love it. And I'm happy. Hopefully we can get Henderson, and Grubb's a huge deal. And I think my time's done, brothers, but I appreciate y'all having me on, and I'll catch up with y'all.
Absolutely appreciate it, Alabama Richie. Always a great conversation. And like as Jackson always says, don't be a stranger.
There you go.
I won't. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Catch you guys.
There we go. And that was a great call from our friend Alabama Richie, who we see every week right here on the Alabama Call-In Show on Alabama with the Voice College Football. The call-in link is in the description and in the chat. So if you want to come in and call the show, come on in. The link's there.
I will say I really liked his, Alabama Richie's point about Sellers at South Carolina, because I and a lot of other people just keep, we've kind of beat the Lagway and Napier's, situation to death because it was just so easy to point to. But absolutely with Sellers, same thing. Beamer was on the hot seat. Beamer, like it was a done deal that he was gone after the end of the year. He was on every hot seat list as well. Then you get Sellers. And what happens? South Carolina has a really, really good season, and Beamer's fine. So it's really interesting to think about that. That sometimes just getting a really good QB can just save your job, save your team, save your season, whatever that may be. And I do agree with Richie. The more I think about it, because if you remember, I said Jackson a while back. I said that I felt that Bama didn't need to throw Keelan Russell into the fire, kind of like how Tennessee didn't do that with Nico. Well, guess what? Tennessee, when they didn't go with Nico and they went with Milton, Joe Milton, they didn't do that good. I mean, they were all right, but they didn't do that good. And then with Nico, they had a better season despite it ending horribly. I feel like maybe I still am a believer in not throwing a player into the fire, but if they are really talented and really good, I think you got to give them a shot. And maybe like another point Alabama Richie made, and I was going to piggyback off this, but we changed the subject. It kind of like how Michigan did with McNamara and McCarthy. If you remember how McNamara started a game, McCarthy started a game. Alabama could do the same thing. Have Simpson start, then Keelan Russell, like get a feel. See who's doing better. And if Ty Simpson is doing really well and Keelan Russell is struggling, then maybe go with Simpson. But if Russell's just flashing too much talent and you can't keep him off the field, then you got to go with him over Simpson. And if you lose Simpson, you lose. But you don't want to lose Keelan Russell either. I mean, so it's a tough thing to navigate, something that is going to be interesting to watch for next season to see how DeBoer handles it. But I think how he handles it is going to be key for next season's success.
For sure. And Van Edwards brings up that Grubb seems like a guy who knows what he wants from his offense, but we honestly felt handcuffed with Milroe the last 2 years. And I think that would stunt any new offensive coordinator's growth. Just my 2 cents, though.
No, I mean it's fair, absolutely. I still think though, when looking at the last year of Saban and how Milroe did that season versus last year with the first season of DeBoer, I feel like the flat Milroe is getting right now is a little bit too steep. It's fair to an extent, but like I said, how different would Milroe's image be if he doesn't fumble the football against Michigan? I know I've said this before, but if he doesn't fumble the football against Michigan and Alabama ends up winning the national championship that season, then the thing is Milroe would not be seen at the way that he is seen right now as a garbage quarterback, because that's basically what he's being seen. That's why Adam's joking here by saying he's not even an NCAA
There
QB.
we go.
He's obviously an NCAA QB. He is. He's not. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback right now at all, because he's too flawed and he got worse.
True.
But the thing is that this past season with Nick Sheridan, an offensive coordinator, he did not do anything with Milroe to benefit him. All the plays that were run were what Milroe could not do. And I understand that when a player is not good at something, you have to push their buttons. You have to try to get that out of them to see if they are capable of it. And if they can do that, then that's development. But sometimes guys just aren't capable of that. So when you aren't capable of that, then you have to adapt and basically have your offense be, catered to what that quarterback's strengths are. And Milroe's strengths are running the football and basically deep shots. So that's just my opinion. I mean, I know that it's not popular. I think Milroe's flack is too strong. I understand that he's very flawed. I understand he's not the best quarterback in the world. But the last year of Saban, we saw Milroe be a lot better than he was this past year. That's not something that is undeniable. If you look at the stats, you look at the seasons as a whole, Milroe was much better 2 years ago. I just think that the offensive coordinator for Alabama this past season, and Nick Sheridan, is not a very good offensive coordinator to begin with. I saw him at Indiana. He's not great. That's A. And B, he did not do anything in the favor of Jalen Milroe's success at any way, shape, or form. That's my opinion. I understand it's not popular, but that's my opinion. I don't think Milroe's going to be an NFL quarterback now, probably because of it. There's nothing we can do about that now.
There we go. And we got our guy, Adam Lamparello, giving out a $20 super chat saying Milroe hurt the team tremendously because he could not read defenses and limited DeBoer's offense. The question is whether Ty Simpson or Keelan Russell will be an improvement. We thank you for the $20 contribution, and check out Adam Lamparello as he brings out magic on Rutgers at the Voice College Football with Gabriel Pickup every week on the Rutgers channel. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. Definitely appreciate the super chat, Adam. And as always, doing fantastic work over on the Rutgers channel, and always appreciate when you stop by. Absolutely. Milroe prevented Bama from winning his title. Well, again, I mean, he fumbled the football. He blew the game. But if he doesn't fumble the football, Alabama probably wins, because when he fumbled the ball, Alabama was winning. And that's why it's so tough. It's one game. You know what I'm saying? It's one game. It's one result. And that fumble, what was just a monumental mistake that Jalen Milroe made, and it cost Alabama the game. Everybody forgets that Bama was at the 1 yard line, basically, with a chance to have still a shot to win. And they ran a garbage call, a garbage play. That's not Milroe's fault. That was a garbage play call at the goal line. You remember it. I'm not even going to continue to debate about that game, that Milroe did indeed blew the game. But
Blew it.
If Jalen Milroe's not the quarterback last year, Bama's not even in the game against Michigan. And I'm sorry, but they're not, because they had to go with Milroe They had no other options. I people saying Ty Simpson. Every time I've seen Ty Simpson, he hasn't done anything. I mean, I want him to get his fair shot. I want to see if Ty Simpson can take the job. If he could do that and he beats Keelan Russell, then awesome. I hope he does fantastic. But that's the thing that's so frustrating. All I'm saying is that Milroe's legacy would be very different right now if he doesn't fumble that ball in that game. That's all I'm saying. Because right now he is seen by basically everybody as a garbage quarterback, even maybe worse than Blake Sims. So I don't agree with that. I just don't. I really don't. Milroe is a very flawed quarterback that with a not very good offensive coordinator, he sucked. He sucked. I mean, he was absolutely horrible this past season. Jalen Milroe sucked. But I think that the offensive coordinator situation and Kalen DeBoer being the head coach made it a whole lot worse. Honestly, I really do. And people saying, well, Ryan Grubb, I think with Ryan Grubb, Milroe would still be terrible. Honestly, it's not about, Milroe's flaws that it makes him as bad of a quarterback as he is. It's who's calling the plays for him. And you have to cater to Milroe. That's why Milroe's not a great quarterback. Milroe is a good quarterback in the right system. And Grubb or Sheridan is not the right offensive coordinator, and DeBoer is not the right coach for a guy like that. That's just my opinion. And that's why Milroe's flaws, all of his flaws came out this season. Plus, Alabama's team was worse. It was worse. Imagine Mac Jones on this last year's team. Do you think Mac Jones does that great this past year, Jackson?
No.
I don't think so. Your best receiver is a 17-year-old guy who looks like a pencil out there on the field.
No.
And
Mac Jones was one of the players that really benefited from the COVID season. That was pretty much it. I mean, it's like,
but I mean, like, to me, I just don't think Mac Jones would have had a great season this past year. I don't, because you like I said, Ron Williams. I mean, he's fantastic, man. He is fantastic, but he's small. He's small, and he can be taken out of the game when there's no other weapons. And Alabama's offensive line, it has never been anywhere close to as good as that season in 2020 with Mac Jones. It hasn't been as good since. It's no surprise Bama hasn't won a title since either. You have to have an elite offensive line.
Well, Van Edwards is saying that he wants Ty to get a fair shot, and he roots for the entire QB room, but he's not too inspired by Ty Simpson. He looks shaky, nervous, and untrusting in his arm.
Well, I will say that if anybody remembers when Jalen Hurts was starting that whole season, and then Tua came in the title game and won against Georgia, everybody remembers that season. I remember, and I feel like this is when a certain media network used to actually offer analysis that wasn't junk, like currently. But I remember when that particular network was talking back during that season, and they were showing clips of Hurts in the pocket, and there will be a wide open dude downfield. Wide open, so open that me and you, if we didn't have 300-pound defensive linemen coming after, if we were just standing there, maybe get the ball to him. Wide open. You know what? Jalen Hurts did not throw the ball. He didn't throw it. He just would run or do the check down. Had a wide open guy downfield, he wouldn't throw it. You know why? I feel, and I said this all season that year, that I felt that Jalen Hurts, he knew Tua was nipping at his heels. He knew Tua was right there. And what if Hurts throws a pick? Guy's wide open, but what if he sails it long? Yeah. What if he does it short and he throws a pick? Who's coming in the game? Tua.
Yeah.
So Jalen Hurts, his mental toughness that season was tested heavily. And it got to him. And in a way, this could be me talking out of my butt, but I really believe that season actually helped Jalen Hurts more than anything get to the NFL. Yeah. Because he had to be under immense pressure not to goof up, or he would lose his job. And he managed to hold it off all season until the national championship game. Would Jalen Hurts be remembered less fondly at Alabama if Tua doesn't come in and win the title? Yes, just like Milroe was when he fumbled the football and blew the game. Jalen Hurts is remembered fondly because Bama won that game. And people remember Hurts fondly because Tua got hurt the next season and Hurts came in the game and Hurts won that game. Then Hurts goes to Oklahoma and Hurts does pretty good there in a wide open offense, right? And then guess what? He goes off to the NFL, so literally struggles, and now he just won a Super Bowl. Milroe is nowhere near as good as Hurts because I see Adams coming. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when it comes to legacy stuff and just different examples. But this is to go all the way back to the Ty Simpson comment. Ty Simpson, if that's true, like you said, I think Van made the comment earlier.
Van Edwards.
Yeah, Van Edwards. If you're right that he looks shaky and doesn't trust his arm, then he's not the guy. He's not going to be the quarterback.
There you go.
You can't, because if he's worried about Keelan Russell, then he's not starting quarterback material at Alabama. Jalen Hurts was worried about Tua, but he was very good. He was a very good quarterback, and he managed to hold it off. But you can't do that. If you're a starting quarterback at a major school like Alabama, Georgia, whatever, and you have a guy behind you, you got to block that out. You got to be like, you know what? I know this guy's behind me. I know he could take my job, and I'm just going to ball out. I'm going to do my thing. That's what Ty Simpson's got to do. I mean, if Ty Simpson, if he has the mental fragility where he doesn't trust his arm and is shaky and is worried about Keelan Russell taking his job, then he needed to transfer, honestly. But maybe this will do Ty Simpson good. Maybe it will. Even if he doesn't win the job, maybe having this experience of being afraid to lose your or not get a job, not even gain the job at all, will maybe help him in the long run. I don't know. Again, I'm kind of saying a lot of stuff that probably, it's a lot of hypotheticals, but I do think that there, is actual, connections to these different examples in quarterback growth and development. It can be in other fields as well. I mean, if you have competition, you have to do better than that competition, or you don't deserve to be the guy. And I agree with Darrell. That's why I'm not a believer in him either. But it is one game, so I don't know.
There we go.
We'll see what happens next season. I do think Keelan Russell's going to win the job, though, but we'll see.
Here we go, man. And we got Darrell on the line, who's on and is a Voice College Football regular, and he's recently joined Twitter. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. How about you, Jackson and Jeffrey?
Doing all right, man.
Pretty good, Darrell. Appreciate you for coming on.
Before we get to your point, Van Edwards says he's new to the show. He enjoys it a lot. Can't wait to call in and cut it up with y'all sometime. Love an informed football discussion. We'd be happy to have you call in.
Right. And my point about Ty Simpson is I don't know. I'm not evaluating him based off his quality of passer or anything like that. But for me, the quarterback needs to be the leader of the team. And when it's evident to me and just a layman in college, just a college football fan, that the team has given up on you, you just can't be that guy. I just cannot believe in you as a leader. I don't think you can develop that camaraderie with your team if they've already given up with you. It's just one of those things that's once it's broken, it can't be repaired.
I mean, it's a great point. I mean, and I can go the same way for a coach too. I mean, I always use examples, always drift off of a conversation to bring it back into a conversation. A lot of times it's how,
Jeffrey.
But coach is the same way where, once the team and particularly at certain schools, the fan base gives up on that coach, it's over. You're done.
Correct.
Like Mike Woodson. I knew, we all knew the Louisville game, it's over. You're not recovering from that, man. You're done. Your history, bye out the door. Hubert's right there. One loss before the Duke game to one of these garbage ACC teams. He's done probably. Even if he gets another year, I just don't think you can recover the fan base. You lose it. You just. It's unfortunate that's the way that it has to be. But when you're at a big job, a big boy school, You can't have garbage performances again and again and again and again. You cannot keep underperforming expectations, and that goes the same way for players. If you're going to be the starting quarterback at Alabama, you better be darn good considering look at the lineage of quarterbacks that we've had. So if you're Ty Simpson and you can't come close to that level, then you need to go to UCF, or a school like that, because you're not. That's why Taven Jackson left Indiana to go to UCF. I mean, even Indiana's raised the bar.
Yeah.
Right. He needs to go in a place where somebody can actually believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's even if it's just one player, I don't know how many players are on the Alabama team with all the transferring stuff that's there, but all it takes is just one guy to share an experience about him that gets people to turn on him or to doubt him. That's all it takes. So in my opinion, if I was Ty Simpson, I would have left personally. And also it's just kind of weird. If I'm trying to lead somebody and the team that I'm trying to lead has already shown that they don't believe in me, I don't believe I can lead that team as well as a brand new team that I have no experience in, because I always have that doubt in the back of my mind. It's like, do they really trust in me? Do they really believe in me? Is this all for show?
Yeah,
so that's
and especially too, I mean, when you have such high expectations of, at a program like Alabama and of past quarterbacks. All these quarterbacks that, whether they were super talented or not, put up great stats. A lot of it's because they had great receivers to throw the ball to, particularly guys like Mac Jones, even like Jake Coker, who had the best running back in football that year beside him, and good weapons too. I mean, so not arguably great quarterbacks, but they won because of the team. But yeah, I mean, when you're a guy like Ty Simpson, though, I mean, if you transfer to a school that their expectation is to win 6 games and you win 6 games, then the team's going to be like, yeah, he's our leader. He does what the team, what we're expecting. We want to make a bowl game, and we went 6-6. Fantastic. It's awesome. But when you're at Alabama, you can't do that. You have to expect more. Based off the history, based off the talent the team has. I mean, that's why people make fun of Indiana fans in basketball on social media, because they're like, oh, well, Indiana fans just want to make the tournament. They don't even care about the Final Four anymore. Yeah, we do care about the Final Four. It's just the fact that we can't get to the Final Four. So we're on the bubble. We just want to make tournament. But still, that's why we're getting rid of Woody, so we can actually get a coach that can win games, so then we can get to the Final Four. The expectations aren't gone. It's just that you can't do it. And see, Alabama doesn't want to get to a point where that's a problem, where it's like, oh, well, our expectation is to win a national championship every year, but, we got to settle for 7 wins because that's what we've been doing every single year now for 10 years. No, that's not what Alabama fans want. So if Alabama goes 8-4, 9-3 after that, guess what? Kalen DeBoer is going to be out on the way out eventually. And I do disagree with the statement slightly, because yes, this is true. Yes, Bob Knight was Indiana, but if Kelvin Sampson was not fired because of the stupid junk that he did, and the NCAA got rid of him, told Indiana to fire him, and then he was banned from basketball for 5 years, and he had to go to the NBA, and then he goes back to Houston. If all that didn't happen, Kelvin Sampson would have already probably won a title or two in Indiana.
Oh man,
I'm sorry, I just don't agree. Indiana had their guy. It's just he was a guy that had baggage, and back then it wasn't legal, and Indiana wasn't Kansas and Kentucky where they covered up.
Well, and when the news was coming out,
I'm sorry to reel on the Cal stuff, because Kentucky's a good program outside of the Cal has done junk that he got away with. I'm sorry, I can't defend Calipari at all. I just can't. He's done a lot of junk that he never got in trouble for, ever.
Well, I mean, when the breaking news was coming out about Kelvin Sampson at that time, they made it seem like he was just a thug, just like beating up everybody and smoking cigars and all.
Well, I mean, there were a couple players that were a little bit kind of not good that he probably shouldn't have. But the main reason was because, he made phone calls to players that were committed to other programs. That kind of sounds familiar to today. I'm not going to lie. Players are committed to other schools, and teams just get them anyway. Kind of like how we already knew that Riley Leonard was going to Notre Dame before he entered the daggum portal. Yeah, that doesn't add up, but that's fine. Yeah, again, the Kelvin Sampson stuff was highly overblown. I mean, Bill Self has been suspended like 8 billion times in inconsequential games for junk, and he's never been fired. John Calipari literally had the whole Memphis shenanigans, and nothing happened when he went to Kentucky.
No.
Nothing. Kentucky hired John Calipari. Kentucky hired John Calipari knowing what he did at Memphis, and nothing happened. And that's what they said. Well, Indiana knew that Kelvin Sampson did stuff at Oklahoma. They knew he did that stuff, and they hired him anyway. Look how bad Indiana did. Oklahoma didn't even barely get in trouble. Are you kidding me? So using that logic, Kentucky should have been gutted like crazy for hiring Cal. And Memphis shouldn't have got destroyed, but no, Memphis did. Doesn't make any sense. It's pick and choose. It's ridiculous how Indiana was gutted for the Kelvin Sampson.
That's why
he was only there for a year. He was at Oklahoma for 6. It's a joke. I'm sorry, but it's a freaking joke.
Oh, yeah.
John Calipari should have been fired at Kentucky. He should have been fired. He should not have been able to continue coaching college basketball, especially considering what they did to Kelvin Sampson. And now I have to hear every 2 seconds on TV how great Kelvin Sampson is, and look at his redemption story and how great he is at Houston. And will he win Shut up. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear it. Because when he was at Indiana, you were like, oh my gosh, he's a thug, he's a loser, he's trash, he's scum, he's a demon, whatever. Yeah. We heard it all. And that Indiana was the most sadistic program of all time for hiring the guy. Yet John Wooden had a bag man for 20 years, which is why they won 9 titles. I mean, please. You can't make this stuff up. Rick Pitino's still coaching. He's coaching right. St. John's, he's doing great. Does anybody remember what was going on at Louisville? There was some really sick stuff going on over there. And I don't care if Rick Pitino knew about it or not. I think he did. He did. He did. But he was like, oh, I didn't know about it. Yeah, he did. I can't even say it on air how bad was going on with Louisville. I can't. And what happened to Louisville? Nothing hardly as bad as happened to Indiana. They got in trouble for a year. Indiana had no scholarships for 3. Rick Pitino coached at Louisville for like 20 years. And Kelvin Sampson was at Indiana for 1. Are you serious right now? And I know people are like, well, Louisville lost the title. Okay. I mean, considering the stuff that we kind of heard about, maybe it was justifiable. The only thing I will say is that a lot of the stuff that came out about Louisville was after that title team. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but I know if Austin was here, he'd probably be going crazy at me. I'm just saying, Indiana got just screwed. Indiana's not just Bob Knight. For one, they had Branch McCracken, who won 2 titles before that. And number 3 or 2, if they had Kelvin Sampson still, they would have been fine. I'm not saying Kelvin Sampson's a good dude. I'm just saying that the guy can coach basketball. And Calipari, I don't think Calipari's a fantastic coach. I don't. I really don't. I think Calipari's just, I get players. I get 5-star guys, and I hope it works. And it used to work before. Now we have guys staying for their 6th year of college basketball. And that's why the freshman thing doesn't work all that good. That's kind of why, even though Duke's got Cooper flagged, they got Proctor, and they got Gillis, and they got Sion James, and they got a bunch of dudes who were like 5th-year seniors. Kentucky wasn't doing that. And they thought like Sheboy, but the Sheboy was like undersized. He was like the modern version of Barkley, but 5 inches taller. So it's like, yeah, that was it. And they had like that one guy could shoot, Kellen Grady. But basically, the rest of the team was freshmen, and it didn't work. And then now he's at Arkansas, and guess what? It's not working. They're not winning anything. So, yeah. And Mark Pope, what did Mark Pope do? He brought in a bunch of guys that were 4 and 5, 5th-year seniors, and Kentucky's a whole lot better than Arkansas is, even though they lost to Arkansas. So that's just my opinion on that. But I know it was kind of a rant. But, I mean, the Indiana, Kelvin Sampson, John Calipari, all that junk just frustrates me to no end. Because a lot of people just don't get it. They just don't understand what actually happened. These are not opinions of mine. They're actual facts. I mean, literally, they did an interview with Kelvin Sampson the other day. Yeah, if I didn't get fired from Indiana, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know what? It made me want to cheat less. Wow, that's a great revelation, Kelvin Sampson. If Calipari had got fired, maybe that would have helped his career, but he never did. Oh
Nope.
yeah, he got fired from the NBA because he sucked. I forgot. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah,
Again,
they're kind of just making his redemption story sound like an Andy Griffith show episode. Like, good grief.
Yeah, we'll clip it, Darrell. We'll clip it. I don't know what your thoughts are, Darrell,
but
Sometimes things that are just so great just don't need to be added on because it would ruin the product. So I'm just going to move on to a whole different topic.
oh, there we go. Alabama, Kentucky. That's going to be a fun one. And guess who's going to be there to call the game? The man who just recovered from cancer himself.
Oh, he's Dick Vitale's calling it?
Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to see a good time for a long time in Tuscaloosa this Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think Kentucky's going to win because we've got two of her point guards out, Lamont Butler and Jackson Robinson. So
yeah, that is definitely killed Kentucky, man, because Jackson Robinson is just a bucket getter. And even though people are doing the memes online, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to push the line, but about Trent Noah and Travis Perry and stuff. Yeah, they're good. They're good little guards.
They're good freshmen.
Right? But
they're just good freshmen.
They're not nice what Kentucky needs out there on the floor.
No, they're a great role player.
Lamont Butler is an experienced guard who's had tournament success. That's who they needed out on the floor. He can't stay healthy. It's unfortunate. And Robinson, I mean, he's just good. And yeah, I mean, Kentucky was doing a lot better before that. I don't think that they would have had this little skid that they're on with that if those guys are healthy. I agree 100%.
Yeah, so and plus when you're playing one of the five best teams in college basketball on the road, you're going to need a lot of things to go your way as well. And I think Alabama's got a lot to prove because Auburn kind of dominated them, similar to the Penn State-Boise State game where it never felt like Alabama had a chance. And then Alabama just got hammered by Missouri in a way I didn't even know was possible for Alabama to get hammered. I mean, they gave up 59 points in the first half, 59 points in the first half in a college basketball game. You almost have to try not playing defense in order to do that bad. That's something.
You know, Dennis Gates, the Missouri head coach, was telling people, "Hey, don't rush the court." Which, I mean, first of all, like, I'm kind of embarrassed that had to happen like that, and secondly, I'm really embarrassed that the SEC has that stupid rule where it's like, you gotta pay fine.
Dude, the thing is, man, let the college students be the college students and let them rush the freaking court, man. I mean, Duke's like, Filipowski, he got hurt. We need to put the court stormers in jail. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I mean, if you got some guy doing something just egregiously wrong, like punching a dude in the head or something like that when he's court storming, put that okay. But most of that stuff is pretty daggum innocent. I mean, get off the court. I mean, literally, if I'm on the losing team and I know that they're about to rush, I'm getting the heck off the court.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I'm running out of there. Not like a little girl, but I'm getting out of there. I'm like, you know what? They're coming, man. They're coming. I'm done. I'm hitting the bricks. But those guys, we'll just stay on the floor for a while. No. Get off. Like, if they're storming, why would you want to be on there? I mean, I understand it happens fast. I get it. But a lot of times those guys don't leave the floor fast enough either.
There we go.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's just part of my opinion on that.
No.
What I was going to talk about when I called him, because we went on a 15-minute tangent to something else. That's why I like this show. It's like a venture. What I was going to talk about, Jeffrey, is the manifest destiny of sports. Mm-hmm. Everybody feels like they're expanding. College basketball, the 76 team talk, the college football, the 14 or 16 team talk. Jeffrey, what are your thoughts on manifest destiny? I mean, we got
manifest destiny is a joke, and I think honestly, as sick as I am of the college football expansion, because that's a joke. We know that at max it should have been 6 or 8, but 4 was fine. But you can't kick the can down the road. It's not coming back. But this basketball expansion, I understand that this is a historically garbage bubble. I understand that. And a lot of I think that there is some correlation to the Pac-12 being gone and all this conference realignment where the SEC and the Big Ten are these stacked leagues, right? Like they're so freaking stacked and maxed out with all these power conference programs and all these great teams, that is creating this environment where you have teams with pretty solid records and resumes all the way to around seed 8. Seed 7, 8, maybe 9 is stretching it a bit. But then it just falls off a cliff after that. And then you got a bunch of teams that are like 15 and 11, like Arkansas, North Carolina, which North Carolina is no excuse to be bad because the ACC sucks and they still suck anyway, but whatever. Indiana, Georgia, basically the whole bubble's the SEC, right? Vanderbilt.
Well, hold on, Jeffrey. You're telling me UC San Diego doesn't deserve an at-large bid?
I mean, honestly, I would put a couple of those teams in instead. Put VCU in, put UC San Diego, Irvine, whatever, over these garbage bubble teams. But to be fair, though, these garbage bubble teams are also playing ridiculously hard schedules as well, especially the SEC. I mean, like Oklahoma, people made fun of them collapsing in the past in the Big 12 because, like, they'd start out great and then fall apart. Well, this year, it's like, dude, the schedule, though, man. I mean, the schedule is just you're playing these teams week after week after week. I mean, Kentucky's got like 8 losses, man, and they're like a 3 seed. That's how deep the SEC is. But yeah, I mean, but they're wanting to expand to 76. So I got off track a bit there. But they want to expand to 76, and it's like the bubble's bad enough as it is, man. We don't need to add any more teams. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and what do you think about the college? Not only I like the big brain move of college football expanding, but they're also having automatic qualifiers, which I think, it's going to be helpful for the game if the non-conference games literally are meaningless, that have no determination on the course of the season. What are your thoughts, Jeffrey?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've mentioned that before about, not the non-conference games. People want to see them, but when you give absolutely no you give no purpose or reason for playing the game, it doesn't help you in any way, then they just get rid of it. Like, all the teams are going to cancel the games and never going to play it. There's no reason to play it. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. But, I mean, like I said, the issue is that this whole narrative about the playoff, about how if you didn't make the playoff, then your season, it just doesn't matter. And since that happened, that's why they're wanting to expand this thing. As far as it is, because before, when you had a 14 playoff, especially when it was just the BCS, if you missed it, it was fine for the most part. It's like, whatever. So if you had a tough non-con game and it cost you, it was no big deal. But now it's like you have to make the playoffs for it to matter. Like in a 12-team playoff, a 16-team playoff, well, whatever. Like, if you don't make it, it's a joke, right? Like it's going to get to the point where if the thing expands so much, kind of like how in college basketball, like if you're a program like Indiana and you miss the tournament, or North Carolina and you miss the tournament, your coach is done. Your history. You're hitting the showers. It's all over. And it's gonna be the same thing in football. Like Alabama, if you got a 24-team playoff and Alabama misses the playoff, then whoever the coach is done. They're done. So that's the problem. So then it's like you have to make it as easy as possible to get in the playoff, so you won't lose your job. So there's no point in playing the non-conference games.
Right. I mean, the only reason I can see you to play non-conference games is if at the end of the year, if there's 3 at-large teams in a 16-team playoff, which is looking like it's going to be. And I guess I should break it down for people who may not know. The SEC is supposed to get 4 based on what they're reporting. Big Ten's 4. A Big 12 and ACC is 2 each. Group of 5 is 1. And then you're going to have either 1 at-large spot or 3 at-large spots. Now, if it's a 14-team playoff, you'll have 1 at-large spot. But really, it'll be 0 because Notre Dame exists. And Notre Dame is rarely going to not be outside the top 14. So that playoff is going to be completely like ironclad locked for this foreseeable future. Whereas I like the 16 team more because at least there's some variety in the at-large spots. See, what I don't want is us going down the NFL route, and it feels like we're just sprinting that way because if there's no arguments at all, I don't know. The part of the reason college football is the best sport, in my opinion, is the argument and the debates between like Alabama, SMU, between the Texas A&M the year they got left out, Florida State versus Bama, and those are the arguments to make the sport great. But it's like, oh, well, this team was fifth in the SEC, therefore they're out. There's just no debating, and that's really going to hurt. I feel like what fans like about the sport is the subjectivity nature of it. We're just completely removing that. And Adam, while it is funny troll that he says Alabama must join the ACC, I mean, listen, Alabama's path to winning a national championship would be significantly easier in the ACC.
I know, but here's the problem though, and that's why it doesn't work. Because we said the same thing about Texas. Why would Texas leave the Big 12 when you could if you're good? You should win the Big 12 every year versus go to the SEC and you're going to have to fight like heck for that thing because all these great teams in the SEC, again, if Bama went to the ACC, you're losing out on millions a year. Your program becomes less valuable being in the ACC. It does. And that's what's so funny about this because in theory that's a great idea because if Bama goes to the ACC, they'd win it every year. But they would lose so much money because the ACC isn't worth a fraction of the Big Ten or the SEC. So it would be insane. It'd be suicidal to do that.
No, I'm not talking from the financial standpoint, Jeffrey. I understand. I'm talking from a pure football standpoint. If you have guaranteed playoff spots, it makes more sense joining the Big 12 because they're mediocreville in the ACC because they're basically mediocreville. Why are we giving the Big 12 and ACC 2 spots? When have they shown?
We really shouldn't because, the conferences are horrible. And honestly, to be frank, I'm just saying, because you're talking about non-conference games, it would really only benefit those Big 12 and ACC teams at the very top of the conference to play a game like that. Because if you somehow win in week 1, then that's going to help you the rest of the season. Since you can't really rack up a lot of quality wins in conference because you don't have a great conference. But being in the SEC or the Big Ten, it makes no sense to play those games because you already have a great strength of schedule in conference. But the only way that you could get those teams to play out of conference is probably with the Big 12 and the ACC. But would they even do it? Because, again, it would benefit the SEC and the Big 10 more just to play Northern Illinois and the Citadel or whatever. So, I don't know. I get your point. I know that you weren't looking at it financially. I know you were looking at it just for on the field, but I'm just saying that it would never happen because of the financial. It's just not feasible at all.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just so worried because if we go to 16 and we're going to go to 16, it's going to be like, oh my gosh. I don't know how they're going to seed this format as well. That's an issue because they better not give the top 5 spots to the 5 conference championship winners. We do not need that. I'm sorry. Arizona State does not need to be 4. Can you Arizona State in a 4-13 matchup and they'll be like a 10-point underdog? Jackson, I know you're a historian. Who would be the 13th seed last year?
Oh, good grief. I think we probably would have been last season. So, it would have been ugly for Arizona State.
Right. And a 4-13 matchup, and it would have been Arizona State, Alabama. Mm-hmm. The 13th seed would have been what? 14-point favorites, 10-point favorites, something along those lines. They would have been double.
I will say, though, to play devil's advocate, it's no guarantee Alabama would have won that game.
No.
I understand.
Considering the way we were playing and the fact Arizona State almost knocked off Texas, I don't know. Yeah, but I get your point, though.
Yeah, but also, to talk about going forward, if you have a bracket situation where the 13 seed is double-digit favorites, your bracket is objectively terrible. Same with the 5-12 matchup. The G5 team will, I'm pretty confidently can say, never be favored against that 12 seed. And that's unacceptable. So what I hope they do is if they go to 16, because going to 14 is going to involve your favorite thing, Jeffrey and Jackson, buys, which I know you all love buys so much. So you get the worst part of every world.
I don't even like them in the NFL.
What I love so much is how everything that happens, it seems, is what I don't want. And that's what I always laugh. Like the buys, I don't want them. That happens.
No.
I didn't want expansion. It happened. Like just everything happens the way I don't want it, man. But that's, it is what it is,
Agreed. Well, Darrell, anything else for this week, man?
No, it's good talking to you all. I kind of wished I could have talked longer, but my weave kind of got cut off with Jeffrey going on a 15-minute rant about my former coach.
Hey, Darrell, if you want to stay, you can come back after the stump section, Jack section. Because I mean, I definitely could chat it up with you more on the show if you want to, though.
I will, and I will update you all that we did take an unfortunate defeat tonight. The United States lost to Canada 2-3. So
yeah, that's what Will meant by brutal loss, I guess.
Yeah.
Man.
I thought, was it true that the winner of this game got to determine where Canada is, if they're a state or a country? Was that what was on the line tonight?
I have no clue because I'm a moron about hockey. I kind of need to talk to some hockey experts.
I got you. I'll see you all later.
The only thing I know about hockey is it's the Stanley Cup. I
think Sean McDonough was calling it tonight, and I heard like Blaze TV host Jason Whitlock talking about how McDonough's not exactly good enough for hockey or football, but it's like, come on, man. Watch all Sean McDonough's
the real. Should we annex Canada? I know. I don't think that's political. Should we annex Canada? I mean, I guess it is political, but
It depends. Yeah. If we can buy it from them outright, I believe they're they're welcome. They're friendly people. They're good people. We can listen. They've got some good stuff. I don't like their weather particularly at all, but they have some.
It's only tolerable in like Vancouver, and like Ontario, like near the Great Lakes. It can be like they have some good summers. I mean, winter's cold, but it's no different than Michigan. So. I mean, yeah, but you get that's why like 90% of Canada's population lives 100 miles from the U.S. border. Like nobody wants to live up there, man. Like I know they got a Walmart in Yellowknife, in Northwest Territories. I know they got a Walmart up there, but like there's nothing up there, dude. I mean, it's like this flat, just no trees. It's just flat. Like the Yukon's better than Northwest Territories, but it's still just cold as garbage. People are like Whitehorse is a good place to live, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's like -20, man. Like I don't know. I do like looking at Canada. That's why I know a decent amount about Canada. I like Canada, even though a lot of people hate Canada. It's a meme to hate Canada, but I don't dislike Canada. It's just it's cold. And I don't like cold. So, I mean, and the thing is, and people say I'm a Southern guy, so I'm soft. It's not that I don't dislike the cold when it's like 30 or 40. I just don't want to be where I have to wear like 5 layers of clothes to go outside. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
No way.
Well, Darrell, we'll definitely be seeing you in a little bit after we take these next calls, man. I'll see you in a bit, man. And we got the IT guy join us for the Stump Jackson section of the show tonight. Apologies for the long wait, man.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing good. How's Poland treating you so far today?
It's mighty cold, but not
I'm
as cold
almost
as y'all
at
are.
good morning. I'm very close with you.
At least it sticks to one part of the weather. It's not like Alabama where Alabama just has spring 1 minute, summer next minute, fall the next minute, and then later at night it's winter. It's like
literally 2 days ago I had like 70-degree weather, and now it's like 30. So yeah, you can't make up its mind.
It's like 21 degrees right now, but real feels 13. But Alabama's got. What is it, 19 degrees right now with a real feel of 7.
Oh.
So I'm glad I'm not there right now.
It's crazy
It's
to
a little
look at a
warm.
map and see how much more north Poland is than Alabama in the United States, and yet it's colder in Alabama than it is in Poland. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, like I saw on like the weather the other day that like Maine was warmer than where I am in North Carolina. I'm like, how is that even possible? But I mean, it can happen with
right?
highs and lows in the weather. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's been freaky. I mean, Florida got what, 10 inches of snow or something this year?
Man, that's unheard of for them. They don't know what to do.
George Georgitis from the Renegade Report was commenting about how there was so much snow where he was at in Florida. I told Jeffrey, I was like, now I've seen everything. Snow in Florida.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like remember it snowed down in Southtown, Jackson. You remember? And what movie's that? A Year Without a Santa Claus. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that guy snowing in Southtown? You remember he got my galoshes? Like, what? Yeah. Okay.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, I wonder what ChatGPT's got this week.
Yeah, and I didn't have time to verify it, because I'm working full time and school full time. So if it's wrong, it's wrong, and we'll work around it.
That's all right.
But,
me and Jackson will try to figure it out.
I'm sure y'all probably will. But see, this week we're going with the Big Ten.
Oh, there we go.
You know about that.
Oh,
all right.
Sounds good.
All right. Okay, which team has won the most Big Ten championships?
Well,
Michigan or Ohio State.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean,
Jackson, you probably know.
I'm thinking Michigan. I'm
yeah.
going towards Michigan.
It's close.
Well, it's saying Ohio State.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Mark. If Mark was listening to this, Mark would be like, "No, Jackson, it's Ohio State. We're going like billions more than that team up north." Okay.
Oh yeah.
That was supposed to be an easy question, Jack.
The thing is, the more I thought about it, I'm like, man, Ohio State was dominant longer, but I don't know. Yeah.
All right. What year was the Big Ten Conference founded?
That's a Jackson one.
Let's see. Oh, that was in the. Oh man. Well, the Western Conference. That's what it was first named in the 1890s. So. I mean,
didn't it become the Big Ten? If we're talking about like when the name became the Big 10, wasn't that like the 1940s?
Oh no, not even close to the 40s.
Well, when was that? Like, because before that it was called something else. I don't know.
It was obviously known as the Western Conference, but what are the choices?
1896, 1907, 1910, and 1925.
I thought it was in the 1890s range, 1896.
It's saying here 1907.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Is that when it?
Oh, that's when it became.
What was it called then? I mean, did it become the Big Ten? Because
it was known as the Western Conference.
See, because for me, I remember that I thought in the 1940s that the name changed to the Big Ten. I thought. Because it went from like the 40s to like 92 when they added Penn State. When it was the same teams, right, Jackson? I think.
Well, they added Michigan.
Up to the 40s, they had Chicago, and then they got rid of Chicago, and they added a team.
Michigan State, 1951.
51. So that when it became the Big Ten, like the name, but I don't know.
Well, Penn State was 1993 when they were added.
No, it was 92, but 93. Okay.
Yeah, 1992 was the last year Penn State was an independent, and unfortunately, the last time they played Pittsburgh on rivalry week on an annual basis. I'm never going to quit begging for that game to come back. Hey, if I got to go to Pennsylvania legislature.
Let's bring back West Virginia and Virginia Tech.
Exactly.
All right. Which team is the oldest football program in the Big Ten?
Ooh. Has to be Michigan, but let's look at the.
Well, see, that's a trick question because you can look at it from the angle of Rutgers because they're the oldest football program and they're in the Big Ten. But if you look at it from a founding member, it's not Rutgers.
Because I mean, like founding members, you're thinking somebody like Michigan, but That's right. Rutgers from 1869 because they played in the first game
But
ever.
But are they going to count that though? Is the question asking like the first team that was in the Big Ten? Because obviously Rutgers joined the Big Ten in 2014.
Yep.
So I would say Rutgers, but I don't think the question's asking that.
Obviously not.
It's Rutgers.
Yeah,
because
they
it's
are
saying
going
which team is the oldest football program.
See, it was a trick question.
Yeah.
That's why. What do you remember, Jackson? The first one that actually joined the Big Ten, like what became of the Big Ten, though. Do you remember that?
Not the moment, but it's going to take me a minute.
Yeah, I can't remember.
All right. What team was the first Big Ten member to win a college football national championship?
Let's see.
I know Minnesota won a long time ago, but
Minnesota was winning in 1934, 1935.
I know they won in the 30s, but I'm sure they weren't the first.
Yeah. I mean, they won their first national title the same year the Three Stooges started doing shorts.
It seems obvious to say Ohio State and Michigan, but it's probably something else.
I'm thinking it's somebody like Michigan.
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
Chicago.
Oh my!
The
Chicago.
defunct school. We need to bring Chicago back, man. Like,
come on, Chicago. Come on, Chicago.
Oh man.
Oh,
Think about Chicago, like gets just booted out of the Big Ten. They don't even have football anymore, and then you got Tulane getting kicked out of the SEC. I mean, that's a tough break.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So, which Big Ten team has the largest stadium?
Michigan, obviously.
Michigan, yeah. Nittany Stadium's like right behind, but it's Michigan.
Our guy Ben from Exploring Ben and Sam and the Oregon Channel and After Dark says hashtag Merrimack to Big Ten.
That would officially break college football. It would never recover, ever.
I think my brain will hurt from that. It's gonna explode. Oh man!
All right, so who's the all-time winningest coach in the Big Ten history?
Well, let's see. So we got. Well, right now it's Woody Hayes.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking Woody or the guy at Michigan that his last name is like 15 letters. How do you say that, Jackson? Bo, like Shim. Well, how do you say
Beckler? Bo Schembechler.
Yeah, his last name's hard, but yeah, I was thinking Woody though. I was like, it has to probably be Woody Hayes.
Yeah, Kurt Ferentz break that record eventually.
It's saying here is Joe Paterno.
Paterno. That doesn't count though, because see that's such a. I mean, he didn't even win all those games in the Big Ten.
No,
he was an independent before that.
From 1966 to 1992.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. I would go with Woody on that one, but I mean, I guess by default. And plus, didn't they vacate a lot of those? Like they don't even count anymore, right?
No, they brought those wins back.
Oh, they brought them back. They brought them back.
Yeah, they were back in the postseason 2014, and they brought back
Cherry's
all
upset at ChatGPT.
Hey, ChatGPT, dude.
It's not my fault.
Nope.
Okay. All right, which team is the newest addition to the Big Ten Conference?
Obvious. Are we going by 2024 or is it going by 2014?
I wouldn't know.
Well, Rutgers and Maryland were 2014, and then the 2024 was UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington.
Yeah, like USC, UCLA were added officially as of July of 2020.
Oregon and Washington were the last two that got invited. Yeah.
Yup.
USC.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah. All four. I mean, we could have gone with all four.
They're not even going to count all four.
They're going to pick USC because it's the biggest brand, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Your Big Ten champ.
Funny.
Man, if they didn't lay an egg in the playoff, oh, boy.
Oh, boy. I don't think Spaz will like hearing that.
No.
Yeah, he was like, take your
Yeah, the
bag
duck
on
laid an
boy.
egg, man.
I mentioned like something about like Oregon getting spanked, and he was like, take your bag or leg or take it up Oregon's backyard.
So who won the first ever Big Ten championship game in 2011?
Wisconsin over Michigan State on Fox.
Yeah, this is one of those GPT moments. It's saying Michigan State won.
Oh, God. Michigan State won the regular season matchup by the Hail Mary pass.
Chat GPT needs to get his kinks ironed out. My Lord. Like, I know Jackson's right. Like, I know he's got to be right.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it on ESPN that night in my room, and, several weeks later, Big Ten title on Fox. Boom. Wisconsin wins a rematch. Russ Wilson was the quarterback there.
All right. What team did Ohio State defeat to win the first ever college football playoff national championship in 2014?
The Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, and they beat Alabama in the semifinals.
Yep.
Blake Sims.
Oh.
Yeah, Ben's done. He's done. He doesn't want to hear it anymore with Oregon.
Okay, what is the nickname for Michigan football stadium?
Well, it's obviously Michigan Stadium.
Big House.
There you go, Big House.
There we go.
Mm.
There we go.
Which team broke Ohio State's 22 game winning streak in 2013?
Let's see. It was Michigan State in the 2013 Big Ten title game. And again, it was on Fox.
Yep. Who won the Heisman Trophy as a defensive player from the Big Ten?
Ooh, Charles Woodson.
Yep.
Mm.
It was the last Big Ten team to win a national championship before Ohio State in 2014.
Let's see. Ohio State won it all in 2002. Michigan won it all in 1997. So that was Michigan.
Michigan, yeah. And you're right, 97. All right. Which team has won the most Rose Bowls among the Big Ten teams?
See like USC or Ohio State, but I don't know who it's going to count.
That's a good one. I'm thinking Ohio State.
Yeah, they're probably going to say Ohio State, probably.
It says Michigan.
Michigan.
Okay,
so yeah, because they were in like Rose Bowls in the 1910s. They were in like the first one in the 1902 season.
Okay, I don't know.
All right, which Big Ten rivalry is played for the Old Oaken Bucket?
Indiana, Purdue.
Nope.
Yep.
That's my specialty right there.
Who holds the Big Ten record for the most passing yards in a season?
Ooh, that's a good one. Got one. Who's on the multiple choice list?
All right, Drew Brees, Dwayne Haskins, C.J. Stroud, or Chuck Long?
Drew Brees.
I'm thinking either Drew Brees or C.J. Stroud.
It's saying Dwayne Haskins.
Oh, Dwayne Haskins. Rest in peace.
Might need to research that, though.
Yeah, I thought Brees or Stroud, too, but I thought Brees. I mean, that was a long time ago, though, when he was at Purdue.
Yeah.
So it probably, I guess, could have been beaten, but I don't know. I mean, Dwayne Haskins did throw a lot of dump-off passes that year for like 80-yard receptions because those receivers were really fast that year. But yeah, definitely rest in peace on that. I still hate that.
Which Big Ten coach was known for punching an opposing player in 1978?
Oh, Woody Hayes.
Woody
Gator Bowl.
Not Mike Woody, but Woody Hayes.
Oh, he had a mean temper. Like he was.
Oh yeah, like every football fan knows Woody Hayes did that. And I mean
All right, which team was expelled from the Big Ten in 1946 for emphasizing academics over athletics?
Chicago.
Yep. I mean, why would you do that to yourself? Why? Look at the money you could have made right now. They lost out on hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars for that move. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. I mean, come on.
Who was the first Big Ten? Who was the first Big Ten quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards in a season?
Was not Breeze or Haskins, because I mean I saw the stats of Haskins. He was just short of 5,000.
But the thing is that remember Chat GPT said that Haskins had the most passing yards in a season. So if it's not Haskins, then the answer that you would say Jackson would be somebody that threw for more than him.
Yeah,
that doesn't even make any sense.
Oh man,
it's saying C.J. Stroud.
Stroud.
C.J. Stroud threw for 5,000, and Jackson's saying Haskins did not. I don't know. I can't back that one up on that. I don't know.
All right, which Big Ten coach has the most wins in a conference history?
Has to be Woody Hayes in conference history. Or Ferentz, break that.
The one earlier said Paterno, so is it saying Paterno again?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's going like I said Paterno. Like,
he didn't even coach in the Big Ten that long.
He didn't even come to the Big Ten. It's like GPT. Come on, just because they're part of the Big Ten now, they weren't part of the Big Ten then.
What was the score of the 2006 Game of the Century between Ohio State and Michigan?
42-39, Ohio State.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a Jackson one right there.
I think both
I know, right?
were passed away like the day before that game, unfortunately. But
he probably knows what day it was, what time the game was, what network was on.
November
and the announcers.
Yep, November 18th, 2006 on ABC.
Yeah, they don't get on ABC anymore. It's always on Fox now.
Now they'll probably put that little game on Netflix at some point or Amazon Prime. But on the bright side, and give Al Michaels a little something exciting instead of Jets Patriots. Don't do that, man.
Who was the quarterback for Ohio State in that game?
Troy Smith, and he won the Heisman that year.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, but I was like, what quarterback? I'm like, it probably was Troy Smith. Yeah.
Unfortunately, he was a bust in the NFL.
Most Ohio State quarterbacks are.
Except for Stroud. Just don't let him near Burt Kreischer again.
All right. Who returned a punt for a touchdown on the last play of the 2015 Michigan State game?
Oh,
that was
I don't
Michigan
remember who
State.
it was, but I remember that game. That game was good.
That was Michigan State who won that game.
Yeah, Michigan State
Who were
won.
the choices? It's going to take me a while.
Jabril Peppers, Jordan Lewis, Jalen Watts Jackson, or Connor Cook?
Well, it's not Connor Cook. Is he?
No. It's not the QB. It's not the QB.
No.
Was it the second guy?
It's not
Jordan Lewis. No.
Third guy. So it's not Peppers.
Yeah, Jalen Watts Jackson.
Yeah, I was like, it was either 2 or 3 because I knew what Connor Cook or either first guy. Either, yeah.
Yep.
So what was the final score of that game?
Michigan State was coming back in that one, and close but no cigar for Michigan. That was a 27-23 victory, and Sean McDonough got excited calling that game.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
All right. Which team upset Ohio State in 1998, ruined their national championship?
Michigan State, yeah, because it was like the one year where
Tennessee won it all that year.
Oh yeah, they beat Florida State that one.
Which Big Ten team? What Big Ten team upset Miami in 2003 Fiesta Bowl with a win to win the national championship?
Oh yeah, that was the game that ruined Miami's program for life, man. I mean, we're better now. Yeah, you still haven't fully recovered.
Lord. All right, what controversial call extended the 2016 Ohio State versus Michigan game in a double overtime?
Oh man, that was the first down call where it was like, oh no, they were short.
It says here JT Barrett's fourth down conversion.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
That
I
was,
remember that. Yeah,
and
was
that
controversial.
that was the last time we've seen Michigan, Ohio State on ABC since then.
All right, whose team's mascot's named Brutus?
Ohio
Buckeyes.
State. I mean that, like Brutus the Bucknut, man.
Which Big Ten team wears black and gold as their primary colors?
Iowa. Iowa.
Purdue.
Oh,
It's saying Purdue.
Oh. Wait.
Well, black and yellow is
gold
Iowa.
is yellow. Gold is yellow.
Uh-huh.
What's gold? Because I mean, when I look at Purdue, like they're gray, like they're black and gray ish. Like I don't know what color that is. Yeah, I was with Jackson. I was like Iowa because of the gold. I mean, Ben's saying Purdue, but I don't know how gold is. Purdue's color scheme does not look gold to me, but I don't know. Go see an eye doctor. What are you talking about? They don't have gold. You know what gold is, right? Like a yellow. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't matter.
Which team plays in the horseshoe?
The Buckeyes.
What's the nickname for Penn State's football stadium?
Happy
Valley.
What was that?
Happy Valley.
Oh, it's saying here Beaver Stadium.
Well, that's the see when Jackson said Michigan Stadium earlier, and I said the Big House. Michigan Stadium is the name.
Yeah.
And the Big House is the nickname. Beaver Stadium's the name. And Happy Valley's the nickname. Right, Jackson? I mean, right? Yeah, like Beaver Stadium, how's that the nickname when that is the name?
I think GPT's been doing some stuff it's not supposed to behind everybody's back.
Oh man. Next it's gonna tell us that instead of the white out it's a gray out or something, or I don't know. I mean,
I tell you what, I wouldn't use it for trying to help it out with your schoolwork. I mean,
people do that.
You'll end up failing.
I know them, and then they wonder why they got a 60 on their report.
Just use it.
Half the facts are wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which Big Ten school has a tradition of fans jumping around between the third and fourth quarter?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Jump around, baby. Jump around.
Yeah, and I don't know if I was gonna ask, but I want the wave is Iowa. They do the wave for the Children's Hospital, which is really cool. I don't know if it'll ask it, but I just want to see it.
But
so who's Michigan's biggest rival?
Ohio State.
If they say Michigan State, oh my goodness.
I mean, all these questions that it's given me here, it seems like Michigan State, and Ohio State is the only ones in the Big Ten or something.
Yeah, because I mean they're like the only ones that win.
Who's known as the granddaddy of them all?
The Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Keith Jackson called it that.
Which Big Ten school is located in Bloomington?
Indiana. We got some representation.
What's the nickname for Michigan State's football team?
Spartans.
Which Big Ten team plays at Memorial Stadium?
Nebraska.
Illinois and Indiana and Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
Yeah, Illinois and Indiana are also Memorial Stadium. They're all 3 Memorial Stadium. I don't know if you knew that, Jackson. I think you did, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all.
But I figured ChatGPT would count Nebraska.
Oh yeah, because it's the brand, all right? Like they're not even like the long tenure Big Ten team. Illinois and Indiana have been there since 1900.
Illinois is mid. Oh man.
Which 2 teams compete for Paul Bunyan's axe?
Minnesota and Wisconsin.
And Minnesota.
Which Big Ten team claims 11 national championships, second most behind Michigan and Ohio State?
11 national titles, and this is a Big Ten team we're talking here?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Is it saying USC?
No.
Yeah, oh, Lord. I mean, Oregon's never won a natty. Michigan State's got a few natties. Nebraska's been winning national championships all throughout the 20th century. Well, the later half, anyhow.
Did Nebraska have 11?
No.
USC had more. That's why I said yeah.
Well, that's obvious.
If it's not USC, I don't know who it is then.
It's saying Minnesota.
Oh, well.
I knew Minnesota had the 2 in the 30s. They won a lot more before that, Jackson.
Well, they had 2 national titles in 1940 and 1941, 3 national titles in the 30s.
That's 5.
I'm guessing they're counting 1960 for Minnesota, so that would have to be.
I would have thought it was USC, but I guess Minnesota. I mean, nobody even looks at Minnesota as anything. I mean, if they got 11 titles, then why are they not a blue blood?
Oh, it says 7. I'm looking at their history. 7. Their first ever was 1904.
Yeah, like they haven't done anything in 60 years. I mean, like, of course not.
All right, which Big Ten team has the largest marching band?
Ooh, man.
I know Indiana has a band of 100, and I know that's not the most, though.
What are the multiple choices we got?
Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's probably one of the big 3.
Ohio State, because I mean,
yeah, it's probably Ohio State because they do that script Ohio thing where it's there's like hundreds of people out there. So yeah.
Well, they played the SpongeBob theme song a few years back. I mean, that's what I remember.
Yeah, I like him then.
Yeah, it's Ohio. See, or Ohio State, I mean.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, if they got enough money to play SpongeBob, I mean, they basically are the largest marching band in the Big Ten. Wisconsin's
right.
like, hey, play SpongeBob. Nope, sorry, we're broke.
Which Big Ten team has the longest active bowl streak?
That's a good one. Let's see. So, I've never seen Ohio State miss a bowl in my lifetime. So
they even made it in the Fickle year.
Yep. But they banned themselves from the postseason in 2012. So the bowl streak ended in 2012. Let's see.
Michigan. No, it's not them.
Where are the choices?
Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Iowa.
Wisconsin. I'm gonna go.
It's not Michigan because they had a bad season recently.
I'm gonna go with Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin, isn't it? Because
it's Wisconsin.
They've been to everyone since the 90s. I remember that stat. Like, isn't it like 96 or something? The last time they didn't make it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean they've been in ball games since we were in diapers.
I wasn't here.
All right, which Big Ten team was the first to win a Rose Bowl?
Michigan.
Saying Illinois.
Illinois? Are you kidding me?
That's the first time Illinois has been mentioned.
Oh.
Which quarterback threw for the most yards in a single Big Ten season?
I'm gonna say Dwayne Haskins on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, we got burned earlier.
It was a disco inferno.
All right, which Big Ten coach was fired in 2023 amid a signing stealing scandal? A sign stealing scandal.
Oh, Connor Stallions, because it's all everybody ever talked about.
Who?
Connor Stallions, he was fired. Harbaugh got suspended for the second time.
It's gonna say Harbaugh, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Harbaugh
does.
didn't even get fired.
No, he got suspended a second time.
And then he left. He didn't even get fired.
Like,
Oh, man.
ChatGPT is the
Connor
smoking
Stallions
company.
was the sign guy. Oh, boy. That's fun. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Maybe you need to send ChatGPT a copy of this show so they can see how wrong they are.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Which team won the first ever college football playoff national championship?
Ohio State.
Yeah. 2014.
Yep.
All right, Jack. This one you'll probably get. What was the score of the 2014 Big Ten championship game between Ohio State and Wisconsin?
Oh, it was 59-0. Wisconsin got smacked off the face of the earth by Cardell Jones.
Yeah, it showed the Big Ten West was the worst division of all time, man. I mean, that was just ugly.
Nobody.
I mean, every year they got destroyed, basically.
Yeah.
The only year they didn't get destroyed was the 2015 Big Ten title game, and Iowa was like Charlie Brown at the pitcher's mound, coming up short.
All right, which Big Ten team won the 2017 Rose Bowl in a thrilling comeback against Penn State?
Oh, that was USC.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold all the way.
Panthers legend.
All right, which two teams played in the famous Kick Six Big Ten game in 2017?
Kick Six Big Ten game? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's going to take me a minute.
Yeah, I think Kick Six, I think Bama Auburn 2013. So
I know, right?
Kick Six Big Ten game in 2017. What game was that?
It's gonna take me a minute.
Yeah, Jackson's got he's our only hope here.
Oh, man, what are the choices? Because I think I can narrow it down some.
All right, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, or Nebraska and Iowa.
And this is a 2017 Big Ten Kick Six.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I remember there's like a Kick Six in the 2016 Oklahoma-Houston game at the third quarter of that one.
I don't know if we're going to get this one.
Oh, man. I'm guessing on Iowa, Nebraska.
It's saying Michigan State, Michigan.
Yeah, I almost said Michigan.
Michigan State for 2017.
I almost said that, but I wasn't sure. I don't remember it.
You might want to Google it, make sure.
Yeah. It could be true. I don't know.
I'll be watching the highlights of that. Of course, I'm not playing sound for, obvious reasons. Copyright.
Who was the quarterback for Iowa during their upset of Penn State in 2008?
Oh, man. I think I remember this one. I was watching Alabama LSU that day. Penn State was obviously in the top 3 that day.
I was 4 years old, so I don't remember.
Well, Brad, yep. Iowa was coming off a loss of Illinois at that time. They were 5-4.
Yeah, when you said upset, I thought first it would be like the Ohio State game back in 2017. I'm like Nate Stanley. Wasn't it Nate Stanley, Jackson, he upset Ohio State in 2017, right?
I'm thinking Ricky Stanzi, because I mean I remember he
Ricky
played
Stanzi for the Penn State one, yeah.
Yeah, it was Ricky.
Yep. Hey, Ricky.
What was Stanley? Did he beat Ohio State in 2017? Jackson, was it Nate Stanley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that game. I remember Stanley, but yeah, Stanzi. I remember the name. I just don't remember the game.
Yeah, Ricky Stanzi was there at 08. Yeah, and they were coming off a loss of Illinois. That was a 2:30 game, and Iowa and Illinois went through a 5 to 6 year period without playing one another after 08. They didn't play one another until 2014. That's nuts.
All right. What was the final score in the infamous 2015 Michigan State game that ended with a botched punt return?
27-23 Michigan.
I was about to say, I remember that from earlier, 27-23. I didn't remember it earlier, but yeah.
Good grief.
All right. That was my last one. I've got to go to work.
All right. Well, it was awesome having you on for the Stump Jackson section of the show tonight. It was fun.
Appreciate it. Love the questions, even though Chat GPT likes to throw us off every now and again.
Yeah, I gotta find
a
a better source for my questions.
I think we're gonna use these last.
I like it. That makes it funny.
There you go. There we go.
No, seriously though, y'all should send a copy of this to Chat GPT.
I'll do what better. We'll not only send a copy of tonight's episode, but last week's episode to Chat GPT, because I think they need a word.
Yeah, they need double proof.
There you go. Well, all right, man. It was good having you on, and we'll be seeing you soon. See you next week for this part of the show.
Y'all have a good night. Stay safe and stay warm.
You stay safe as well. Appreciate you for coming on.
No problem. Y'all have a good night.
Well.
All right.
And oh man, that was funny, man.
I love it, man. It's a blast doing it, man. Especially when we know what the answer should be and it's saying something else. It's great. It's fun.
Oh man, got stumped on a couple of them, but yeah. But
I knew more on the Big Ten, I think, than the SEC. I don't know why. And I live in the South. That's like
Minnesota with 11 natties, like that.
Dude, what is that?
GPT needs to get their stuff straight.
If Minnesota had 11 natties, they would be saying they're a blue blood. I'm telling you, they're not a blue blood. Remember, Mark's like, Minnesota's one of the toughest places to win at, and they got 7 titles. Like, they haven't done anything since the '60s. So yeah, I mean, he's right. Like, it's not a blue blood at all, but it's crazy.
Here we go. And we got our guy from Rutgers at the Voice College Football, the one and only Adam Lamparello. How are you doing tonight, man?
All right, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me on the show.
Doing pretty
thanks
good.
For coming on, man. Sorry it took so long. We were getting to one part of the show tonight.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I just had a couple of comments. So, I've been a Bama fan for a very long time, and my biggest worry, honestly, about our football team is the culture. And I'm going to tell you why. It's Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a fantastic coach, but I think his style is not a good fit for Alabama, because when I heard about the ice cream trucks, the stuffed animals, the music, the players-led culture, I thought this is going to be devastating for Alabama, because these are still young men who are, 18, 19 years old. And there's a reason why Nick Saban was successful. And you know what? It wasn't last year. It wasn't all Jalen Milroe's fault. It wasn't, anybody's fault in particular. It was a culture, I think, that if DeBoer doesn't kind of, I hate to say it, wise up and realize that's not going to work with young people today. It's a different generation of people, but they still need some degree of guidance and discipline and supervision. Then I don't see Alabama being very successful this year, especially with a more difficult schedule. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's absolutely fair. I think, Nick Saban, I don't want to use the word enforcer, but he made, the team stay in line.
Right.
If someone like everybody remembers like the Jaleel Billingsley in the doghouse stuff, stuff like that. Where if you weren't doing your job on or off the field, you got punished. You didn't play, whatever. And we see this a lot in college basketball where guys do things they shouldn't do on and off the court. And if it's the best player on the team, the coach doesn't do anything. just lets them continue to play because they need them to play. And sometimes that ends up hurting your team because, again, you're not teaching them a lesson. I understand that it's a lot harder to do that now because of NIL and players like, well, if you do this, I'm going to transfer. It's a different culture now of college football in general with these new rules. And it creates, more freedom for the players where if they don't like something, they can leave. So it makes it tougher for the coaches to do anything. But I think even though it makes it tougher for the coaches to do anything, I think to your point, you still have to do something. You can't just, I don't want to say be a pushover, but you can't let them get away with everything. You can't let the culture just be so soft to the point where when you're on the field, you're soft. That could be a problem. So I agree.
Yeah, I mean, when DeBoer was hired, I thought he's a great hire, definitely a fantastic coach. But when I heard he had a relaxed attitude with a player-led culture, I'm a teacher. I can tell you what happens when you have a player-led organization. What happens is the players develop into factions or cliques, okay? And then that's what creates division and strife. You need somebody who is going to be a leader. And in the interviews I've seen with DeBoer, post-game interviews, even post-season interviews, I hate to say it, he's a great coach, but he's soft. And that is not going to work in the SEC. That is not going to work. Let's look at how Nick Saban acted. Nick Saban was successful for a reason, like I said. And DeBoer, I don't think it's in his personality to be any different. So what I think we're going to see is a lot of 8-4, 9-3 seasons. And that just makes me really sad because there's a standard at Alabama, and that standard depends in part upon holding players to a certain level of accountability. So I think that's going to be a problem. And as far as the quarterback position goes, look, I was not a fan of Jalen Milroe. But when I saw Ty Simpson come in, quite frankly, I wasn't a fan of him either. And I don't know if Keelan Russell can come in and, as a freshman, kind of grasp the complex, schemes and just the jump from high school to SEC. So I'm not sure. Do you guys have any thoughts on Ty Simpson that might be more encouraging? Because right now I'm kind of not sure.
I mean, I'm not super high on him because, like I said earlier, every time I've seen him play, he has not impressed me. And he has been given some opportunities. And Milroe, by the end of the season, was really, really struggling in the system that he was playing in, and he still didn't get benched. So that means, obviously, to me, that the coaching staff didn't think Simpson had any shot to do better than Milroe, and that's not a good sign. Because he was the only option they had. Like Milroe was playing awful football in this system. Like I've defended Milroe to an extent because I think the system was so bad for him that it made his play a lot poorer than he's capable of and what he has shown in the past. But since he didn't fit the system, you think maybe it'd be like, hey, Milroe, you're struggling. Maybe, you can go the Hurts route and transfer, or, just go ahead and just go to the draft, whatever. Like, we're going to go with Simpson the last few games. It didn't happen. So now you got, like, this 5-star guy that's uber talented on paper. People have high expectations on, but has no collegiate experience versus Simpson. And if Simpson does not win the job, then that just shows that he's not the guy for Alabama. I mean, he's never going to be the guy. Yeah. Because theoretically, he should win this job. He should. I mean, Joe Milton technically beat out Nico, right, 2 years ago, and Joe Milton was very inconsistent, and Tennessee did not do very well, but they kept him. And then when Nico came in this year, he did better despite still struggling and being a little inconsistent at times. But I don't know. I think Alabama, like I said, that's why people ask me, am I confident for next season? I'm not super confident. I'm not like pessimistic, but I'm not super confident. You've got a true freshman quarterback coming in that we don't know what he's going to do, what he's capable of. Can he be thrown into the fire immediately or not? And a guy on Ty Simpson that probably 80% of people don't think's that great. It's not a good recipe. Plus, when you mentioned the culture shift at Bama from Saban to DeBoer, and I think Grubb coming, is better because, again, DeBoer's had more success in college football with Grubb than he had with Sheridan as his OC. So that's a good thing. But there's a lot of question marks. And the SEC is very deep and tough. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, I grew up in the 80s. I was always a big fan of, Joe Paterno, Nick Saban, Bill Parcells in the NFL. And what I see from DeBoer is a great coach, but not a great culture. And if it were me, I would hire Urban Meyer. And I have said this many times. I don't care that Urban Meyer went to strip clubs. I don't care about whatever moral indiscretions he may have. The guy didn't commit murder, okay? The guy is not a violent felon, just like I didn't care about Hugh Freeze's indiscretions, okay? I mean, the guy wins, and he's also a tough son of a bitch. He's old school, and I think that's what Alabama needs, and I think they got the wrong guy. And people always laugh and say, Urban Meyer, you're crazy. Well, for Christ's sake, he won a national title of Florida. He won a national championship at Ohio State. And as far as the domestic violence allegations against his OC, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to fire somebody on my staff based on allegations, all right? And the media can spin it how they want. But, maybe a coach is, maybe his actions aren't what we would say as pristine as we want them to be. But, all right, you want to go to strip clubs? You want to have sex with hookers? I don't approve of that. It's not a great role model, but God damn it, if you're winning games, I want you as the coach, because that is not severe enough for me to fire you. And a coach should be a winner. I don't think DeBoer is going to be a winner, unfortunately. I think he's going to be close to the next Mike DeBose.
That's why I say with Kelvin Sampson. If Kelvin Sampson was at Indiana, then he would have probably won a national championship.
What did he do? What did Sampson do?
He got fired at Indiana by the NCAA because of the fact that when he was at Oklahoma, he had severe allegations. And when he was at Indiana, he was calling recruits at other schools that were committed, like Eric Gordon when he was at Illinois committed, and he got him to come to Indiana. And then they said that, his team had a bunch of guys that were basically on dope and stuff. So does that sound any different than A&M with Jimbo? Does that sound any different than all these other programs? So why did Indiana get 3 years of no scholarship? Sampson was banned from college basketball for 5 years.
If Saban caught his players smoking dope minutes before kickoff, he'd be making them run.
But to Adam's point, I don't condone those things. But people saying Indiana is Bob Knight and Indiana is in shambles now and will never be the same, they had their guy. He might not be a morally great person. He might have issues. But look what he's doing at Houston. Look what he did in Indiana. He won 83% of his games in the year and a half he was at Indiana. 83% of his games. You know how much the other coaches have won since Bob Knight in Indiana? Tom Crean won 55%. Archie Miller won 54%. Woody's won 60%. Mike Davis has won like 61%. None of them won anything. Kelvin Sampson won 83% of his games in a year and a half.
Yeah, and the NFL.
He was like 45-11.
Yeah, and the NCAA, it's funny how selective they are in their punishments. You don't think other schools are doing this?
Bill Self gets suspended all the time, and he never gets fired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what was Jerry Tarkanian doing at UNLV? What was John Calipari doing? Okay,
at UMass.
And you don't think at schools like Duke and North Carolina there's not shenanigans going on?
There was a big academic scandal back in the 2000s where they were saying that North Carolina was not all, but a lot of the players were F students, and they were letting them play, and they never really got in trouble for it either. I believe it, probably.
And that's the thing. I want a coach who's going to win. Yeah, I saw pictures of Urban Meyer at some strip club. I know he was married and he had some stripper on his lap. I don't care. He is hired to be the coach and to win, not to be a priest. Now, if he abused a child, if he committed some assault, then of course everyone would say, get the bum out. But when you inject this subjective moral judgment into coaches, it ultimately results in a program where you lose out on coaches that you should have had. And now we have a situation in Alabama where we have a guy from the Northwest, and I went to college out in California at USC. I am telling you, these coaches have a relaxed mentality where they want the players to be the leaders. Well, players at 18 and 19 and 20 are not prepared to be leaders. It leads to division and cancers in the locker room. And that's my thought on why I think Alabama, despite their recruiting, is not going to go on an upward trajectory. But thanks for hearing my thoughts, guys. Always appreciate it.
Before you go, Case John one, our Bear Bryant legend of Alabama Voice College Football says, "Tell that guy raise his arm again. It keeps disappearing."
I need to lose like 25 pounds, so if I do lose my arms, I might be on my way there and can still keep eating whatever I want.
Oh man, check out Adam Lamparello on Rutgers at the Voice College Football with Gabriel Pickup on Rutgers at the Voice College Football Tuesday nights or Monday nights?
Mondays at 7 p.m. We have to switch to Tuesday, but from going forward, it's Monday at 7. So,
okay.
Great show tonight, guys. Always appreciate your analysis.
Everybody subscribe to Rutgers, the voice of college football. Adam is killing it over there. I mean, just because Rutgers is not a great football program, I mean, doesn't mean that there's not good college football discussion over there. I'm talking about Indiana over at Indiana, the voice of college football. Like, I know we're winning last year, but like historically we stink, but there's fans out there, there's discussion out there. Everybody check out a lot of the smaller channels, and none better than the Rutgers channel for sure.
Thanks so much for the support. I really appreciate it, guys, and have a great evening. Thanks for a great show.
Oh, you're welcome,
you too,
man.
Adam. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
What are your thoughts on this statement from Van Edwards Jackson?
I think like a lot of people like yeah. I mean, I could see that because I mean there's always like a good coach that's they're not always going to be squeaky clean. I mean, and same thing with like business leaders and some people here and there, they're like leading an organization. I mean, you're not if you're hoping to have the 100% best human being, you're not always going to find it in a head coach.
Well, people hated Bob Knight because he had the incidences with, the student and the player that he hit.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is people don't look at the 30 years of great basketball that he coached. And for a lot of the instances, the good morals that he instilled in his players. People tend to look at those instances that he did wrong. That doesn't mean that you overlook those instances. But Bob Knight was a flawed person, and we all are flawed. I think the problem is a lot of people get in their mind that like they're morally superior. Like, oh, well, if I didn't do what this guy did, I'm a better person. It's not necessarily how it works. I mean, we all sin. We all are flawed. We all make mistakes. Again, it's not to condone mistakes, but it's just hard to look at a couple of instances that Bob Knight had that were bad, that he shouldn't have done. But then look at that and say that he was a completely horrible human being, and that it's glad people are glad he's dead and stuff and crap like that. I mean, it's just trash because everybody does things wrong in life. It's the severity of it, or the how often does it occur? The frequency of it. Like, there are people that do egregious things every day. And then there are other people that only do a few really egregious things in their life. But what were those egregious things? Were those egregious things so bad? I mean, to Adam's point, like, you can't, like there are certain things that people do that you can't excuse, like murder and other things. Like, you can't, like, if you do stuff like that, then there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, obviously, if it's self-defense, but you get the point.
Oh, yeah.
But in the instance of some of these coaches, though, that have done things wrong, I mean, is it really that bad? Is it really something that they should be fired over? I mean, in some instances, probably not.
I mean, a coach hanging out at a strip joint, it's like, unless he's doing like bad stuff without.
The thing is what I don't understand is that a strip club hookers. I don't condone that stuff. I don't like that stuff. I think it's disgusting, sick, and wrong. But is it legal? If you have two consenting adults over the age of 18, yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, like people were, getting all upset about like the prostitute stuff, a while back with a certain situation. I'm not gonna name it because I don't want to talk about politics necessarily here, but what you pay a prostitute for services? How's that illegal? That's her job.
Yeah.
It's her freaking job. I mean, you can't even defend that. I mean, if you don't like it, you shouldn't be doing that profession.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be like me, like me and you being upset. Like just say both of us are in that field and like, oh, we're upset because we were abused. Well, I mean, dude, if you're upset about stuff like that, you shouldn't be in that field, man.
No.
Like there's shady crap that happens and stuff like that, but you put yourself in that field, you put yourself in that position. That's on you. I don't know, man. The world is just got a lot of problems in it, but a lot of times people they overblow stuff that shouldn't really matter that much, and sometimes undervalue things that should be, I guess, put out there in the open moral of being bad. Like basically what I'm trying to say is that there are some things that are really bad that a lot of people seem to be okay with. And there's a lot of things that aren't that bad that people think are the worst things ever. Priorities in the wrong order. You know what I'm saying? That like that's the thing.
I think people honestly pick and choose when to be upset. I think it's like, and it's usually on anybody that's not performing well. It's, well, we don't condone this bad behavior. But when someone else is performing exceptionally well, then it's, oh, we can overlook that flaw.
Yeah, I mean, I get like this statement, people, putting that role is not, but see, that's the thing. I mean, if you're a person that turns 18 or 20 or whatever, how old you are, and you have no career advancement, like you're not doing anything, and you're just like, all right, I gotta do something for money, and then you go in that field. That again, that's your choice. Now, if it's a childhood thing, I mean, that's on the person that did that. Whether it was the parents, because there have been parents that have done that, and that's sick, or they get stolen, and then stuff like that happens. I mean, we know about certain situation. I mean, we're really touching some stuff here, but I mean, people remember people remember the island. You know the island, Jackson. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The island where stuff happened. That island is degenerate trash, and it's sick and wrong and horrible. And anybody that went there is horrible. And I don't care about the list and whatever. Whoever the person knows who went there. Whoever went there and did those things on that island are sick. The end.
Yeah.
You can't defend that crap. But if you got some 45-year-old coach who's messing around with 20-year-old women and it's consensual, so who cares?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not that big a deal. If it's not consensual,
go run laps.
Wrong. But if it is, but then later after the fact, oh, well, the guy was in the wrong. Okay. It's just, I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, not every situation is cut and dry. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like not every situation is different. But the problem is, the other issue is that we live in a world today where it is so hard to actually know the truth at times because stuff gets skewed. You know what I'm saying? So you look at a situation and you think it's the most egregious thing ever, and it's terrible. But then you find out later or after more evidence and information that maybe it wasn't so bad. You know what I'm saying? But then it's already to the point where that person's just destroyed. Like people already think of that person as like the worst. And then in other instances where people don't think it's that, people don't think it's that bad, and then more information comes out and it was really bad. So I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, I'm saying a lot of stuff to not really say a whole lot because, again, I'm trying to keep it very PG and neutral here. But every situation is different, and I don't think that people should be condemned so quickly or before more evidence is made. And if more evidence comes out and it's like we can legitimately 110% prove that this person did this egregious, wrongful, cross the Rubicon thing that you can't come back from, that's so wrong that they should be completely punished and whatever, then fine. That trash that person if you wish. But you shouldn't trash people that you don't have evidence to trash, especially when more evidence comes out that they're not really guilty or it's not that bad and it's overblown. I guess.
True.
I don't know. And I agree with this statement too from Adam saying it's good to just be true, not pretend like coach should be perfect. I agree because they're not, people put some coaches up here on a pedestal that if they actually knew the things they did, they'd be way down here. And then people put way down here certain people that probably are in the middle. Maybe they're not actually this demon man. They're not really that bad, you know. I don't know. Here, Jackson, you probably know on this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't care, honestly. It's like
I don't know, man. I mean, the thing is, I will say I'm not really in tune too much with people's relationships. Kind of goes back to that football thing. I don't really know who's married to who's doing what with this person. I don't care. If I wanted that, I'd turn on the Kardashian show or one of those bachelorette crap. Where they're, oh my God, is she gonna pick this guy? Oh no, they had a breakup. There's the guy over there who was the third wheel the entire show, but now he's number man. He's Mr. Number One, dude. Whatever. I don't know. Yeah,
That's funny.
I don't want to watch that. If I wanted to watch reality drama crap, I would be watching that instead of college football. Don't infect my college football, man. I don't care about their relationships, man. I mean, I don't think anybody really cares about our relationships that much. I mean, we're just talking college football.
Exactly.
It's not that important, man. It's like, oh my gosh, Jackson over here, he's dating a dime. Like, does it matter? No, I don't care. If he is, awesome, man. You're great. But I don't care, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big a deal. You know? I mean, if we wanted to talk about that, let's create another YouTube channel, Jackson and Jeffrey's Reality Love Show or something, where we talk about all the raging relationships and our own lives and everybody else's or whatever. Yeah, okay. I mean, no, that is not what we're here to do.
Why did I just fucking...
Oh. I'm sorry, Jackson. I'm sorry. Oh. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I can't even read this, man. I can't even read.
I don't think he's referred to the coach that's referred to. Oh Lord. Oh, but I think I got the message. Why do people do that? Why do people call each other mommy and daddy that aren't even their mommy and daddy?
What is wrong with that? You got one mom and one dad, and if they're not alive, I'm sorry. I hate that. But you can't replace your actual mom and dad with some random person. I've seen weirdo people on the internet, Jackson, that call people their mommy who are younger than them.
Oh my God.
What in the world is wrong with you?
Oh my God, that's so weird.
What is wrong with you? I don't get it. How?
I don't even want to know what's in their head.
I don't know. I think, I mean, I don't know. I hope we didn't skirt any YouTube rules, man. I'm just saying. I don't know. Troy Lee says Jackson and Jeffrey's Forbidden Love Hour. Why is that such a great show name, man?
I think I gotta quit laughing.
Dude, we're gonna laugh so hard like JP Cubish, man. We're gonna end up dying, man.
Yeah.
and then we're gonna have to haunt somebody.
Oh. Boom.
Daffy, man, I love the money just kept disappearing, dude. You remember that, man?
Yeah.
The big stacks of cash, and then he's down to his last stack,
That's
dude.
because Daffy acted like a greedy butthole.
That show is so funny. I love the end of the show, man. You remember when he's sitting there trying to sell something and he finally gets a dollar bill and then he takes that one too. He can never earn a dollar again. Troy says we need to clip that one. I think you got to do it, Jackson. I think you got to clip that.
Oh, we're gonna put it on our Twitter and Instagram, and
it's been off the rails, man. We're crashing off the cliff.
oh my god!
Oh,
I'm gonna get back onto the cliff because it's like we see that we're about to fall off, so it's like we're gonna boom go back to the cliff.
It's no surprise our views are up, man. Oh my gosh, dude. It's almost 1 a.m., dude.
Next time somebody is referring to saying Bobby of that content, it has to be in a super chat.
Yeah, I don't know if I can even read it then, man. I mean,
because we
they
can't
probably be picking us off the planet
without laughing.
All I know is, man, is that's why I try to stay off social media as much as I can, because there's just some weird junk on there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
weird junk. That's all I know.
Well, anywho, okay. I think I've got my breath kind of dull.
Anything could trigger another laughing session, man. I'm done. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Anywho.
Adam's right, man. You gotta clip that segment.
I will. God. Oh my god. Anywho. Oh, jeez. Okay, maybe Darrell can help us with this question that we're trying to figure out. Because here's a question I've got. This is about Alabama. So, because of our loss to Auburn, and because we got dominated by Missouri last night, are we basically out of the running for the 1 seed? Like,
Oh, no.
whether we beat Kentucky or lose Kentucky?
Oh no, you're firmly in the 1 seed conversation. I would say is right now you all still are at 1 seed because the amount of quad 1 wins you got. If you look at they did a pre-selection show. They do it a few times a year just to see, hey, if the committee were to rank them now, how would it be? And you all were a 1 seed. I think you were the number 2 overall seed in the tournament, and they went to your quad 1 wins. So you've just got so many of them built up. You could probably lose another game or two, as crazy as it is, and still be a 1 seed. Just the gap between you all and Houston or Iowa State is so massive in that department. The only way I could see y'all being passed up is if Tennessee were to jump y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the 2 losses takes Alabama out of the running for the number 1 overall seed.
Especially the loss to Auburn at home.
Yeah, but being a 1 seed, yeah, we're still fine. If we lose like 2 more games, we'll probably fall to the 2 line, but we're still easily a 1 seed right now. I agree, because like you said, Darrell, we got so many great wins. It's unbelievable. I mean, our resume is insane.
Oh yeah,
right. And if Duke loses a game, I think they're more likely to fall out of the 1 seed than if Alabama were to lose a game or 2. That's just how weak the ACC is. I mean, I don't know their schedule, but they don't play Clemson or Louisville, and that's all I need to know, that they're playing mostly quad 2 or quad 3 games. Maybe if they're playing
only quad 1 game is at UNC.
That's still a quad 1?
Well, because top 75 on the road.
Yeah, how are they top 75? They're 14 and 15 and 11.
Carolina's net ranking is 47.
Well, so far, let's look at the rest of the schedule. So this Saturday we have Kentucky, and next Tuesday and
Oh
next
my
Saturday.
lord! All 5 are ranked.
Yeah, that's brutal. You play 3 1 seeds potentially.
What does Alabama have to go to get a 1 seed at worst?
I'd say 2 and 3, maybe even 1 and 4, depending on who that one is. Because Auburn is viewed so highly by everyone. Like
Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn are just it's ridiculous 3-game stretch. That is ridiculous.
Oof.
I think you'll beat Kentucky and Mississippi State. And then if you go 0 and 3, I guess the question is, what's Tennessee's schedule? If you could pull Tennessee up, because that's the one that you all are really competing against.
Here we go. Oh, they were unbeaten in non-conference.
Yeah,
play.
they didn't lose a single non-conference game, which is insane.
They have LSU. That's an easier game, and South Carolina, so they got a better path.
Okay, so if Alabama goes 2 and 3, then they should be the final 1 seed, even if Tennessee beats them.
Tennessee would probably have to go 4 and 1 to have any chance.
Right. I mean, it's possible, but just in the SEC, the brutality of every single game just kind of adds up.
Tennessee has to beat Alabama in that 4 and 1 stretch to have a shot too.
Oh yes,
they because the head to head would help, especially if Alabama does go like 2 and 3.
Right, and I would also have to say Tennessee has to match what Alabama does in the SEC tournament as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be close, but does it really matter between a 16-1 versus a 15-2? Because I know 15s have beaten 2 more than 16s have beaten 1s, but the gap this year between like the top 5 teams in the country and everyone else is so gargantuan that I don't think it's really possible for Alabama to lose until at least the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, unless it's a really pesky second round team, a very pesky team. And Bama has a bad game, especially on defense. But I would agree, though. I think they should be Sweet 16. I get worried about their D, though. Their defense is sketchy sometimes, and that's the thing. They just have to score a whole lot of points, and if they do that, they're usually good to go.
Right, but
98% of America.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They got one of the best, if not the best, offense in the country. But look at the teams in the 7 range. You're playing Clemson. Like the only thing that would scare me is if I'm playing a 7th seed, that's either Clemson or Louisville, and it's just the ACC is just kind of undervalued, not by a ton, but where all those teams are just slightly better than what everybody expects, and they're like 5 seeds, and they get on a hunt night. And the more I'm talking about this, I think Louisville could be that 7th seed because I don't know if you all watch them play, but they shoot like 45 threes a game. It's insane what they do. And if they hit like 21 of those threes, they'll just shoot you all. They'll shoot anybody out of the gym. So that's the only team I think that could potentially beat Alabama or anybody just because of the style of play. But Alabama's just a different level this year. You guys have a heck of a team. And I was going to ask you all this earlier. Do you think it's possible to be both great at football and great at basketball at the same time?
Oh, I think Alabama can be kind of like how Florida was when they had Billy Donovan, where some people were asking, can they continue what Lon Kruger made Florida? And fortunately, Billy Donovan did. That's what he did.
I think the unfortunate thing is for me is because of the fact, like, you see Saban gone, and now Alabama basketball is like at the pinnacle of college basketball, and Alabama football has slipped. But I mean, if Saban had a coach, a few more years, like Nate Oates had gotten to Bama earlier, then I think that you would have seen that, in sequence where both were good at the same time, like elite. It can be done. You just don't see it at both schools at the same time very frequently. Like Jackson said, the Florida example is like the best, but then you only saw it for a few years because obviously Urban left, and then Donovan left. So it didn't stay. But I mean, it can be done. It's just for both schools to be elite at the same time, they have to have the great coaches at the same time and great, players at the same time. And it just doesn't line up that much. But with how much money Alabama puts into their athletics, I think that they have the capability very easily to be good in both at the same time. It's just whether they are is if they have the right coaches at the right time. And they have Nate Oates right now. DeBoer, we'll see if he can get it back.
Right. And the only weakness that I think Alabama has, and why I don't put them in that quite same tier as Auburn or Tennessee, is just because I've seen those teams win in different ways. Whereas I think Florida and Alabama have to outscore whoever they play. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you can do that 6 consecutive games when 4 or 5 of those games are going to be against decent competition. Because all it takes is for somebody to win 100-97 and you're out of it. Where I don't know, I haven't seen Alabama kind of slow down the tempo this year in any game and win 70-65. When I see Alabama play, from the few games I've seen them play, because there's too much college basketball going on to keep track of everybody, they win 93-87. And I just think in the NCAA tournament, you have to win through a variety of ways. So that's my one main concern with Alabama going into it. But what are your thoughts?
I agree 100% because, I mean, obviously the cliche defense wins championships. I mean, that's one thing. You hear that all the time. But, yeah, if Alabama has a game where in the tournament that they only hit 6 threes, 6 of 35, they just do not have the greatest shooting game, they're probably losing. Because, like you said, about winning in a variety of ways, if you're having a not so great offensive game, if your team can grind it out and defend at a high level and just snuff out the other team, then you can, even though you're a team that's capable of putting up 90, still win that proverbial 64-62 game. Alabama can't do that. They can't. They just can't. And that's why you saw them lose to Auburn. It was a high-scoring affair, and they fell short. Missouri, high-scoring affair, fell short. That's the problem. Because in both games, I didn't even think they were that bad on offense. Against Auburn, they really struggled on from the 3, but they still put up a lot of points. But, yeah, I don't – I mean, could they win it all? Absolutely. I wouldn't bet on it. I would not bet on it because that defense is not good enough. It wasn't good enough last year. I mean, they shouldn't have beat North Carolina. I mean, if you remember that game, I mean, Baycott missed the dunk. Withers took that stupid 3 at the top of the key. I mean, Carolina really should have won that game last year. And I mean, and I'm not saying that because, I am a fan of UNC basketball. Particularly, I do like the football team too, but I love Carolina basketball. I was rooting for both. I mean, didn't really care. I mean, I was kind of in a way like Alabama, like they haven't been good in basketball, forever. So I was happy for them too, happy for Alabama. But Carolina really should have won, and that's because again, Bama can't defend. Carolina just gave it away, but you didn't see Alabama go all the way. I mean, like I said, they got talent. They're dangerous, but they don't defend.
Agreed.
You can't win, I don't think, if you don't at least defend at a decent level.
I don't want to see Alabama be like where they were in 2021 and 2023, where they were doing well in the regular season, but did just enough to make it to the Sweet 16. Because I want to see another Final Four, potentially a national title of college basketball. That would be sweet. We got to have something like that in Tuscaloosa. But,
well, Jackson, unfortunately, and we'll learn this throughout the college football as well, it really just depends on the draw you get. Because depending on the matchups and stuff like that, you can look at it and the committee can really hurt you all and say, well, you get a team that doesn't match you stylistically and you're doomed. Or you can get teams that match you stylistically and you're just the best version of that team and you have a clear path to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Or it depends if you have some team like FDU beat the 1 seed, Purdue, and then your path opens up. So there's just so many factors. It's so hard to determine even right now until the bracket comes down that we know who's likely to make it to the Final Four to the national championship game.
I always look at it as like when the 2013 Indiana year with Tom Crean, with Zeller, Victor Oladipo, Yogi Ferrell, etc., where they played Syracuse in the Sweet 16. And that was probably Syracuse's last good team. Like, and I mean really good team. Yeah, they made the tournament, beat Duke a few times after that. But that 2013 was probably Boeheim's last really good year at Syracuse. And that zone just beat the crap out of Tom Crean. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't figure out the 2-3 zone. And Indiana dominated all year. They won the Big Ten. They beat that Michigan team with Trey Burke. They were very good. And they freaking lost to Syracuse in the Sweet 16 because they couldn't figure out the zone. If they don't play Syracuse, they probably go to the Final Four at least. A team is insanely good.
Tom Crean
great Indiana team, in history. Because you can't count Jackson Davis. I mean, he was a one-man team. And you can't count 2016 really either. Even though they won the Big Ten, they weren't dangerous. I mean, but I mean, that season, I mean, that's the perfect example of a team that should have gone all the way, or at least the Final Four, but it got tripped up because of who they had to play. So I agree. I mean, if Alabama plays a team that's a grinded out, like just tough defensive team, yeah, I mean, they could lose because if that team forces Alabama to like go 5 of 40 from three, I mean, they could lose, 70, 60, 62 if they have just a poor offensive game.
Yeah, have you all played Texas A&M this year?
I don't think so.
Because they're the best.
We did. That's right. Not bad.
How'd that game go? What was the score of that game? Because they're that physical, grind you, foul you, feels like every possession type of team. Good offensive rebounding. Sorry, not good. Elite offensive rebounding. Slow it down.
94-88.
That's crazy. You all paced them up that much. If you look at their schedule, the amount of games, I would almost bet you 88's the most amount of points Texas A&M has scored all year.
Let's look at them, shall we? Huh.
Well, he scored 97 against Lamar. That doesn't count. That's nobody. 92 against Abilene. But in SEC play, yep. They haven't scored that much in any other game.
Your guarantee was correct, Darrell.
Oh,
I forgot they lost to Central Florida to start off the year.
Yeah, and that's the only reason like UCF was even on the bubble for a while. But I mean, that was the first game of the season. UCF is clearly not as good right now than Texas A&M. If they replayed right now, A&M would win.
Well, Jeffrey, all this tells me is we need to expand March Madness to 76 teams. That way.
Oh, yeah. So Indiana and North Carolina can guarantee to get in. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't have enough inclusion.
Let's save Mike Woodson's job by putting Indiana in the tournament.
Hey, you never know. He could make this round of 32.
Oh, man. Okay, so let's take a look at the other top 4 teams for a little bit. See where they're. Well, there's Florida. We're going to be playing them before we have another game with.
That's a monster game, dude.
Oh, God.
That'll be a track meet. That'll just be like the Missouri game, where it's just up and down, up and down, up and down, threes all around. I mean, I remember when Kentucky played them, it was 102-97, I think the final score was.
Insane game.
Yeah, I know. But so I'm kind of worried about Alabama because I've seen Alabama been run on before. And I think Florida's the best team in just pushing the pace in the country.
There we go.
Yeah, I think Alabama might rank number 1 in pace. I could be wrong, but if Alabama does, then Florida's number 2.
I mean, I've seen you all got ran out of the gym by Missouri. And I've seen you get run out of the gym kind of by Auburn. I felt like the Auburn game, their pace was a little bit too much for you all. Marcus Spears fell a little bit out of control during that game. So I'm not a Kim Palm all the way type again. It's a good reference point to start a conversation with and to be smarter, but I think any rankings are flawed. I mean, you just told me the net has them 40, North Carolina 47.
So
I don't like the net. I don't. I think the net is a very flawed system. It doesn't take into account a lot of the times where teams end up. A lot of times if you're ranked high in the net when it's initially released, and it's very hard to fall. You know what I'm saying? So like North Carolina, because they were expected to be good, their net when it first came out, they were really high in it. So like even though they've sucked, they haven't fallen to where they're probably at, as a team. They're probably like the 65th or 70th best team in college basketball. They're still ranked in the 40s.
Right. I'm curious where Kansas would be at right now, because I'm almost like, if Kansas plays like a McNeese type team, or if they're the 4 seed in your all's region and you're the 1, I mean, that's a game I just pencil Alabama winning. Not even a doubt about it. But I believe the metrics show Kansas is still as a decent basketball team.
Kansas is 22nd in the net.
Yeah, they're not
playing right now. They are not the 22nd best team right now. The way they're playing,
I don't even think
they shouldn't even be anywhere near 26, let alone 25, or any of the top 25 rankings for that matter. They should be thrown out.
Yeah, Kansas to me is just a team that's completely fallen apart at the seams, and
That's a dumpster fire.
Right, I'm like, if they face a McNeese or Samford, one of these capable 12 or 13 seeds that can win again, I'm going to pencil. That's a no doubter in my opinion that they're going to win. Samford almost beat them last year, and I think Kansas's team last year is better than this year's Kansas's team.
Do we think
North Carolina should have lost to them last year? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a horrible call.
Yeah, dude, that game irritated me. I think I was live for that game. I was so irritated, man. I was like, man, that ending that game was garbage. Absolute garbage.
Oh man. So I'm looking at the rest of Duke's
3
schedule.
games they should easily win. At Miami is trash. Florida State's not good. Wake, at Duke, so. And then really it's Illinois and at UNC. If they beat Illinois, then they're probably most likely good to go for a 1 seed.
Yeah, but
if they lose at Carolina close, they might still give it to them. I don't know. Maybe.
Don't you think if they lose any of these games, they have to win the ACC tournament to be a 1 seed, though?
Oh, yeah.
Probably, I would say that. I mean, Duke's just such a brand that, I do think that kind of like how Kansas is being still ranked a lot higher than they are. I mean, like I would put Kansas as an 8 seed or a 9 seed right now, and they're still like a 6 seed. Well, how are they a 6 seed? I mean, they're getting destroyed, and the net's supposed to be when you get blown out, then your metrics go down. Kansas went down 1 in the net for losing to BYU by 30. Okay? But when Indiana loses by 30 to Illinois, they fall 10 in the net. Explain that.
Oh.
Explain that. I mean, you talking about brand bias. That's some brand bias. Kansas lost by 30 to BYU and fell 1 spot in the net. 1. Again, Kansas is not a 6 seed. Kansas is like a 9 or an 8 right now. And I actually said that on Twitter, and I had bracketologists, not the main ones, but, some of the Twitter ones that are on there, they agree with me. They said I was right, because that's garbage. I mean, that is absolute garbage.
Yeah, I think a good matchup we should see in the first round, even if you wanted to play the cynical round, is Kansas UConn.
I want Kansas UConn. I would love to see Kansas UConn 8-9. Make that an 8-9 game.
Right, because UConn is doing terrible for their standards, and they have an atrocious loss to Seton Hall.
Dude, Seton Hall, man. I feel bad for Shaheen Holloway because he lost his whole team.
I don't, because he beat my team. I have no sympathy for that, man.
Well, I get it, but I'm just saying, though, that last year they were pretty good. I think they won the NIT, and like he lost his entire team to the portal. Kadari Richmond went to St. John's. I don't remember the other guy's name, but the other really good player. He lost like his top 4 or 5 leading scorers to other teams, and now that's why they're bad. It's just that it's nothing he can do.
There we go. So here's the game that we got pulled up right in front of us that's really keeping Alabama in the 1 seed conversation is this victory over Houston on Thanksgiving week. That was a 85-80 overtime victory. And, Iowa State, Texas Tech are scary.
I will say, even though that game's a perfect example of a game that should still, like it matters because Houston's great, Alabama's been great all year, so but I don't like UCF again beating A&M. Like a game like that annoys me because, like I said, up until like last week, UCF was still on the bubble. UCF sucks. UCF has done nothing in like a month, but yet because they beat A&M, they were still on the bubble. They beat him in game 1 of the year. Should that game be weighted the same? I know people, it's a whole argument about, oh, well, this guy's hurt. You see people say all the time, well, if this guy was hurt for a month, look at this team now, the way they're playing with him back in. Should they, get some leniency for the time he missed? Like, they would have been better with him. I understand that you can't really answer all this stuff. It is hard. So you just have to look at metrics and I get it. But when you look at a team beating a team, like Indiana beat Tennessee in the exhibition game. Indiana beat Tennessee in the exhibition game. What if that was the first game of the year and Indiana beat Tennessee? Would I look at that right now, like Indiana beat Tennessee? That's their argument of why they should be in the tournament. No, because if Indiana played Tennessee right now, they get murdered. So I don't agree. That's the problem with resumes, because I'm seeing a lot like Oklahoma. Oklahoma was undefeated in non-conference play. Undefeated. They're still, by most bracketologists, are still in the tournament field. What in the world has Oklahoma done in the last 2 months? Lost every freaking game. Yeah, I understand the SEC's hard. I get it. Every team's good, basically. I get that. But that doesn't mean Oklahoma should still be in the field either. They shouldn't, because they've done nothing. They haven't beaten anybody. And they're getting blown out by everybody. But you know what? Their net's not going down. I don't get it. It's a joke. I don't get it.
This goes back to our first call. It was just the bubble, how weak it is this year.
Yeah.
Normally, other teams would rise and pass them, but it's just nobody is taking advantage of it. This is why I was rooting for Kansas State. There was that week of hype around Kansas State when it's like, oh my gosh, they're surging and they're making a move toward the bubble. And then what happens? They just completely deflate and go back to the Kansas State of old. So nobody's really, usually you have some teams somewhere in the league taking a streak or two, just being like, oh, we won 6 games, we're in the conversation. Nobody's really done that this year. The bubble has just felt locked since like January. It's strange. It's very strange this year.
Do you think that it is because I am a believer in this. I think that the Pac-12 gone, and now with the Big Ten SEC being the way that it is, I think that is creating this bubble mess. Because the SEC, I mean, you should not have in a 16-team league 14 teams vying for a tournament bid. And technically, if you really want to be...
Oh, face freeze. He got face
theoretically
freeze.
Still has a slim chance. So 15 teams vying for the tournament. That's just dumb. And like I said, you got all these teams. Vandy keeps losing. Arkansas keeps losing. Georgia keeps losing. Oklahoma keeps losing. And they're still in.
Right. A few of those are starting to really, like Georgia, I know in particular, starting to teeter their way on the way out.
Yeah.
Similar with Arkansas, they're kind of there, but Arkansas, again, they went and beat Michigan in a neutral site game. So it's kind of hard to say, well, they're doing this terrible, but they went and beat somebody in neutral site that's the best in one of the premier leagues in the sport. So it's hard to weigh everything out. And with Arkansas, I think they've shown they can be competitive against the absolute top teams. Like they almost beat Auburn the other night. They were competitive against Alabama. So I give them more leniency than a team like Georgia and Oklahoma that just gets pasted in every game they play. Because I want to see good competitive tournament games. And if you've proven to do that over the course of the season, I'm willing to give you a little bit more grace.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That is definitely fair. I don't know. I just think that, like I said, with the realignment, I think it's made the Big Ten and the SEC bloated. Because, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, I really want you to think about it. We were talking about football, right? About how college football was going to be dominated by those two conferences, and like all the bids were going to be them. And that's why they did this protected rule where the other conferences get represented when they don't really deserve it. Well, there's 37 at-larges, right? In college basketball. There was 36, but now there's 37 because the Pac-12 doesn't exist and there hasn't been another conference to replace it. So yeah, with the Pac-12 trying to resurrect itself, we'll see. I don't know. There's 37 at-large bids right now. 14 teams basically don't really count LSU. The 14 teams from the SEC are still vying for a bid. One's auto bid, obviously, the winner of the conference tournament. So that's 13 SEC teams. And then the Big Ten right now, it's about 11 if you stretch it out to Indiana. 11 teams vying for the tournament. One's the auto bid. So you take out those two. So 13 and 10. That's 23 teams in two conferences vying for 37 spots, meaning that the other 14 spots are from the ACC, the Big 12, and everything else. That has never been heard of before in history. So like I said, you've got all these teams in these stacked leagues now, and that's why you're having these Oklahomas that are like 3-10 in conference play that are still in the tournament field because of the fact that every game they play is not a bad loss. So they just keep losing, and they're still hanging in there. This has never happened before. I mean, you've had rare instances in the past where you had like the Colin Sexton Bama team with Avery Johnson, where they were like 18-15 and got in. Maryland got in the other year one time at like 18-15. It can happen, but you don't have this bloated field of Big Ten and SEC teams, particularly SEC, but you do technically have with the Big Ten with teams like Nebraska, who's racking up losses, Ohio State, Indiana, multiple double-digit loss teams that are still in the tournament field conversation. And the SEC is stacked. So you never saw this before. You would always have like one team per league that had like a 15-11 or 17-12 type record that has all these good wins that are hanging in there. But you never had this stacked section. And this could keep happening year over year now that these conferences are so freaking large and bloated and all these good teams in it.
Yeah, here's a perfect example of what you're talking about. Is I was watching from the Hawkeye of the Storm because Iowa had a heartbreaking loss to Oregon.
Yeah.
And that caused Iowa to be 5-10, I believe 5-10, maybe 5-9 in the Big Ten. But Iowa is closer to not making the Big Ten tournament than they are to being a March Madness team, but yet people are still acting like they can be. They're on the bubble, somewhat on the fringe of the bubble. Like, they're not completely eliminated, and they're like one game from being eliminated on the elimination cut of the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, that's insane. And literally, like, I think Northwestern, because they just blew out Ohio State, Iowa, and I think Minnesota now, because they've won 2 in a row.
Oh, sorry.
Are still on like the fringes of the bubble. Like they're way out there. But theoretically, if they won out, Iowa could still get in, Northwestern and Minnesota, which is insane. Like you said, those teams they might not even make the Big Ten tournament because of the format. Indiana might not make the tournament.
Oof.
Indiana's 6-9 in the league. They're only like 2 games ahead of the elimination line. And Indiana's right there. There are some bracketologists that have Indiana as like the second team out. CBS does. The second team out of the field, and they're right there staring at elimination for the Big Ten tournament if they don't beat Purdue. It's insane. Like I laugh because Indiana should not be anywhere near the field. North Carolina should not be anywhere near the field, but here we are because you've got this bubble mostly of the Big Ten and the SEC of a bunch of teams that are just getting beat game in and game out by the superior teams in these big conferences. And no matter how many times they lose, they still have a shot. Because even if Indiana barely loses to Purdue, they lose 75-74, just like all the other 1-point losses they had, like the Maryland game, the 1-point loss to Maryland, the 3-point loss to Michigan, all these close losses, the UCLA game that they almost had. All those games, if they barely lose to Purdue, they're still going to say, well, Indiana's still kind of there.
No, honestly, in my opinion, it'll help you all because your metrics are going to improve because Purdue's a legit team.
That's the thing. Indiana's metrics have improved because all these close losses, I think Indiana was like 70 in the net a few weeks ago, and now that they've had all these close losses and they've overperformed their expectations despite losing, they're like 57 in the net now. Okay.
There we go. Well, Drill, any other questions tonight? Oh, you got a new account. Tell the people what you got going on there, man.
Yes, I have created a Twitter account. You can follow me on X. I'm sure Jackson will post the link in the chat because he's a very kind person, and I greatly appreciate it, Jackson. So what you'll find for me is just me posting about college basketball. I'm starting to work into the college baseball field, and I'm also going to be posting a little bit about the college football playoff expansion, since that story, I believe, will feed us for the offseason.
There we go, man. Check out The Real MVP on X/Twitter at The Real MVP 2437. Check him out. Give him a follow. Tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about those magical calls they make, man. Let me tell you something. It's always a wild ride. It's always hilarious when Darrell is calling in. And it's always a great time.
We haven't had Dr. Buckeye the last couple weeks, but Darrell and Dr. Buckeye's conversations are great. They're always fun. But yeah, definitely appreciate you for coming on, Darrell, twice tonight.
Yeah, no problem. I figure with the time of season it is, it's kind of a dead period, so I figured I would carry more of the weight than usual. I wonder what Dr. Buckeye's opinion would be about the expansion of the playoffs, because as an Ohio State fan, he's just basically guaranteed set into a playoff. He doesn't even have to watch the regular season.
Yeah, like imagine if the ratings just tank, right? Like nobody watches, like the big team, they just don't even watch none of the games. That won't happen because they're still gonna watch. But really, though, like you don't even have to watch.
Right, like Texas this year, I don't even think they have to watch any games if we were using a 16-team model this season. They're just in because of how weak their schedule is. Same thing with if Indiana was a good team, but they had a schedule. If Ohio State had Indiana's schedule, they would be in. So I'm concerned about where it's going, but it's going to make for some good offseason chatter. I'm sure we'll be a part of it, dissecting every angle and twist and turn. I'm sure you all saw the meeting the SEC and Big Ten had, flexing their muscles, just showing everybody who's boss because they weren't even invited to the meeting. So it's, from an SEC fan's perspective, it's great. From somebody who loves the game of college football, it's not really that great because, we don't need teams like Moose's. I saw him in the chat, 7-5 Michigan team having a mathematical chance to be in the playoffs. I just think that's kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, just like 17 and 14 college basketball teams getting in. But now they want to make it 15 and 16.
Well, I'll tell you this, we can do like 15-minute debates on the college, especially next week. If Darrell, if you're interested, Moose in the chat, if you're interested, be happy to have you guys debate one another if y'all are okay with it, man.
I'm always good to chat with anybody. You know how it is.
All right, man.
My buddy Troll Bear.
Well,
hey, that Alabama game was after the playoffs did their selection show, so we didn't have a crystal ball to tell us Michigan was going to beat Alabama. Yeah, I know.
Alabama sucks so bad in that game, dude. They did not try at all.
Yeah, but that Alabama team would have almost been. I don't know how the tiebreakers would have worked because you had a conglomerate of like 5 teams at 5-3. But there's a good case Alabama would have been in the playoffs last year, despite how atrocious they were against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. And I don't think a team like that should be guaranteed into the playoffs. I think they should have to, or if we're at least going to 16 or 14, can we have some play-in games to determine it on the field if they're good enough? But that's just my thoughts, guys. It's great talking to you all as usual, and I'll see you all next time.
We'll see you
Appreciate
later,
it,
Darrell.
Darrell. Hope you have a great night. Always love chatting with you.
Well, stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out, and we'll definitely see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. I haven't noticed lately.
Oh, you're welcome, man. You good? All right, man. Well, Moose wants to come on in and talk with us for a bit. We're happy to talk with him, man. You know, he's good.
I don't know.
Of
I think I'm about out of gas, honestly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think we used up part of our energy on that comment from Adam.
Yeah, so. Yeah, the clip worthy section of the show.
Yeah. Oh, there's going to be a few clips from this show. No worries. Whether if it's on the Alabama channel or on our X and Instagram accounts, let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
We're not going to let you miss out on these moments. And before we head on out to bed, I'd like to tell you about the YouTube memberships of Alabama with the Voice of College Football once again. $2.99 a month. You get a loyalty badge next to your name, custom emoji used in the comments and live chat, and you get a member shout out for every show that you comment on. And that's all by becoming a Crimson Faithful member. And for $4.99 a month, you can become a Saban disciple. And that's all. And you get priority replies, comments, and you get to hang out with us on a monthly basis. And for $9.99 a month, the big one, you can connect on social media with us and you can give out content requests of any kind. That's all by becoming a Bear Bryant legend. And neither rain nor sleet nor snow will put a stop to us from fulfilling your request at Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And the YouTube membership, the invite is in the chat. So come on in, and you got the Godfather of the SEC waving that number one finger. Let's go. Let's go. Well, you get the feeling better, Moose. You get the feeling better. I'm not gonna have anybody debating while sick or calling in while sick.
I hope you get better, Moose. That sucks. I hate that. It's tough, man, when you get any type of cold or sickness. I was really sick for the last couple weeks. It was rough, and definitely about all the way better. Still kind of lingering a little bit, but I don't know exactly what it was, but it was rough. And but yeah, bronchitis is tough. I hate that. Hopefully you feel better.
Yeah, we're praying for you, man. But our newest member, this guy that's below me, man. Here we go, bringing out the Bama logo. Let's go.
I gotta take advantage of those perks, man.
There you go, man. And of course, for more top-notch discussion, debate, analysis with no off-season, come on in and check out the Voice of College Football /Twitter account. What we have here, latest video from yours truly, where I went over my take on Chris Booker committing to the Alabama Crimson Tide, becoming the second commit of the 2026 recruiting class. And I got to tell you, I'm glad he's on for the 2026 class. Although, don't count chickens for their hatch. It's not over yet. There's our guys Garrison and Ryan Stanos. The new guys at Virginia Tech at the Voice of College Football, Mid-Major Matt and Jack Fitzpatrick. The new host for Virginia Tech at the Voice of College Football. Oh, there's us. We're breaking the fourth wall inside the 16th wall. Mark's talking with David Waters from Gators Breakdown. There we go. Oh, Ben and friends on Oregon at the Voice College Football. Tim bringing out that magic with Preston and I forget his Paulie. There, yeah. Jordan Bowman and Tiger Paul Craven continuing that magic on Clemson at the Voice College Football. Cam and Mark on Miami at the Voice College Football. And our new host, Nate the Great, hosting Illinois at the Voice of College Football. Man, that's huge. But there's something else as well. The Voice of College Football Instagram account, and it's available on Instagram near you. So if you got an Instagram account, come on in and give the Voice College Football account a follow. It's the VOCFB in lowercase. So come on in and give it a follow, and you will get some of the top-notch content in all college football. Like, for example, today's edition of what happened with the Texas Longhorns. They're not going to play their spring game. They're joining the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and the USC Trojans. Give the Voice College Football your take. Come on in, give it a follow. Let's get that account to 1,000 followers. Let's get it to more and more follows.
Good on the follows, bad on the news. I don't like the news.
Exactly. But it's just the latest of what the Voice College Football can give you. And before we go, before I eventually lose my voice from all that laughing, what have you got going on in your world at Indiana at the Voice College Football and on Only Taught Sports? We taught sports every single day. At least you try to.
Definitely going to be having another show on Tuesday night talking Indiana athletics and Indiana at the Voice of College Football. We're getting closer to 100 subscribers. Definitely appreciate everybody who has gone over there and checked out Indiana at the Voice of College Football every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Indiana basketball, Indiana football, any type of Hoosier content and news that's going on, definitely we'll discuss it over there. Definitely appreciate it if you go check that out. And also my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports. Like Jackson said, where I talk sports every single day, or at least I try to. Me and Will definitely going to try to be back for another show soon. Definitely always a blast doing that and try to get some videos out there soon eventually as well on some sports news as well. I've been busy, staying busy. Obviously, every Thursday night on Alabama, the Voice of College Football, me and Jackson do the Collins Show, but definitely appreciate your guys' support and a lot more content coming down the pike.
There we go, man. And check out what Jeffrey's doing on Only Taught Sports and on Indiana at the Voice College Football. I mean, he is making some magic over there. He's getting close to 3,000 subs on Only Taught Sports, so we really got to get him making that money. We're gonna avoid that last comment, that whatever that means. I think that's a no. But anyway,
yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, so of course I've been making some magic on the buzzer beater with Will and D, especially today on my personal channel, where we talked a little bit about the latest in college basketball. You check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 105 subs away from the magic number 500. And let me tell you, it's going to be a fun one. And, of course, you can also check out what I'm doing on Jackson BOCFB on X/Twitter and on Instagram threads, Jackson Johnson 543908. But if you don't like Twitter or Instagram for some reason, don't know why, I mean, there's so much fun stuff over there. Check me out on Blue Sky, Jackson Johnson 97, where I've got all kinds of stuff on my updates on Alabama to Voice College Football, the Jacksonian, and some of my weekly calls on the Feinbaum Show. That being said, like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. And we will see you soon. And roll
Tide.